Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto, and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and X. Now we are joined by Gravity is Not a Force, Tinfoil Hatman, Arwin, Refracted Curvature, Neil Constantino, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Yo, yo.
Constantino.
Greetings.
Constantino.
Don't major on the minor, Neil. You got your name right.
Close enough.
Yeah.
Right, good. Let's do some housekeeping. Maybe we'll rattle through all of them. We'll see how we get on, okay? Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge? That's a horizon formerly known as Earth curve.
Only in the maths.
Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
Only if you assume that the stars rotating are in opposite directions and you ignore the fact that they all travel east to west. Only in that case is it evidence of axial rotation, but in all other examples, it's all east to west flight, east to west, and that's it. So probably
that's
not
evidence. That's something you can lean on for an inference that would require a flat Earth to require an axis.
That's the question I was going to ask. Is it safe to say you're going to need a flat Earth for that at that point?
Yeah, I think that's 2 steps further than the average anti-flat earther, though. They haven't even got their head around the black swan yet, so you're going to need a flat Earth for that with respect to the stars. It's just 2 steps too far for them.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Well, if we assume that Venus is the same size as Earth, then we can scale out the whole solar system using Kepler's third law and interplanetary motion, and then we can tell how far the sun is because we then know how its distance because reasons. So if we make a lot of assumptions, then we know the distance to the sun. But if we don't make those assumptions, we haven't got a clue that it's even a physicality.
You know, Kepler's third law is basically orbital derivations off a flat plane, right?
You don't tell me you're going to need a flat plane for that.
Yeah, you will. For orbits. You're talking about the relationship of the angles, aren't you? When you describe orbits. The angular relationships described from a flat plane are what give you orbits. You are going to need a flat plane for orbits. I did put up a video about this about a week and a half ago. Check it out. You're going to need a flat plane for orbits is the title.
Yeah, they use apogee, perigee, and interestingly enough, gravity, eccentricity is a deviation from the horizontal, and horizontal don't exist on a sphere.
They can juxtapose a flat plane on top of the sphere and describe what it does perpendicular to the axis. But perpendicular to the axis is a flat plane also. Any scientific evidence? Go ahead.
I was saying that's in a sphere, not on a sphere.
In a sphere, on a sphere. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Depends on how you define science, isn't it? If you make science, if you get a rubber band effect and stretch the definition of the word science like a rubber band in all angles, then yeah, there's loads of science for gravity, Nathan. But if you apply it literally in its limiting definition, then there is absolutely none. And that's assuming that you can define gravity accurately in the first instance, of course.
Which one?
And what is? I don't like the which one, because it legitimizes that there might be one that's right and one that's wrong.
But no, we're just going to discuss which one's wrong, but which one?
No, I don't think we can do that.
And there's multiples. There's a lot of different gravities, Anthony.
I know, but
I agree with Anthony, though. He's saying that you're legitimizing it when it's not legitimate.
I know, that's a fair criticism.
Why give the opportunity for one to be legitimate?
Yeah,
Why don't you just kill them both?
Well pointed out, Neil. Yeah, no, I agree. I'm almost giving it credence by asking which one.
Yeah, you are giving it credence by asking which one.
Fair enough.
But that obviously now, by me saying that, means that when I like to beg the question with them and go along with their nonsense, I'm shooting myself in the foot because I shouldn't do that. I should kill it at the head.
No, but by the same token, I'm going to take the stance that you would normally take for the same educational reasons, that it's useful to have one person saying, no, I want to beg the question. This is how I'll do it and the reason why and how I will achieve my ends within their paradigm. And me saying, no, you don't need to. You can cut them off at the knees immediately. You're going to need a flat earth for that. But if you're taking the opposite position, I'm still going to take the converse position either way. It's nothing personal.
Yeah. No, it's like, for me, it depends on whether you're talking to the average normie or the rumpus. Because if it's the rumpus, you take him off at the head and never give him any leeway whatsoever. But if you're talking to, your next door neighbour, Phil, who knows that you're a flat earther, but doesn't really want to talk to you just in case you convert him into flat earth too. And then one day you start talking to him about gravity. I'm going to beg the question with him all day.
Fair enough. Speaking of scientific validity for things, any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
No. I saw you talking about that person that referred to herself as a scientist, and it turns out she was an astrologist.
No. She's a meteorologist.
That's right, a meteorologist. And I just felt like saying, Nathan, why aren't you telling her that that's not science? It's study, but it's not science.
We did.
Oh, did you? You told her? What did she say?
No, we didn't tell her to her face. Obviously, we've done a video about it, and Brian's got in touch with her, and off the back of his response, it's been aired in those terms. No, she's definitely a pseudoscientist. She's leaning on her, what she perceives to be science acumen, but in reality, she's there to titillate the audience. She's getting away with it because she's got a claim of scientific validity or being a scientist. But she isn't. And I even justified it yesterday by saying, well, why would we treat her any different in that regard to the men who come along and offer their PhDs as validity for whatever they're claiming as being true through their science that they haven't got? Well, they're just as guilty as her or vice versa. So we're not going to take it easier on her for her pseudoscience claims to lend credence to her legitimacy of forces in Coriolis effect. Now we'll call her out on what she is, a pseudoscience pretender clown.
It's the same as that Becky. Well, I can't remember what her surname is. Becky, the one with the satellite face.
Becky is her surname. Her first name is Doctor.
Oh, yeah, that's right, Dr. Becky. She's another one. She's another one that claims she's a scientist. But what makes her a scientist? Well, whatever it is that makes her a scientist, it's not the things that she's talking about. Because I've never seen her talk about science. I've only ever seen her talk about how black holes are this, and I've never seen any science from her at all. So what is it that makes her I don't think there is anything that makes her a scientist.
No, that's correct. Hence the housekeeping question. Any evidence you can acquire an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline?
That kind of ends the discussion, doesn't it?
No.
I suppose you could ask the question. The other way to ask that question would be to ask how many corners does a semicircle have? So you get a circle, you put a line through the middle of it, and then you separate it. So you've got two Ds. One's a mirror reflection of the other. How many angles does that semicircle have? And some people would say 2. And then the answer is, well, you can't have any on it because you can't have an angle to a curved surface.
How do you confuse an Irishman? Put him in a circular room and ask him to piss in the corner.
Yeah. But there's a corner with where the wall meets the floor, though, right?
Let's not ruin the joke.
Oh.
Hey, back on gravity. When I hit that car on my motorbike and flew over the top of it, what type of gravity was that?
Did you hit the car?
That would be specific. There's an answer to that. That would be specific gravity. So you're describing your displacement through the air. That's specific gravity. AKA relative density.
It's very specific to me, yes.
I need to have a word with you, Nathan, about specific gravity.
I speak to Brian.
No, he's not here, is he?
Yeah, speak to Brian.
No, I want to speak to you because I heard you saying it.
God damn.
I think I can take up this one. What would you like to know about it?
In the same way that when we hear the Hamas guy talking about how many people are dead on the news, and they say you must put a disclaimer that these numbers are only from Hamas and we should take them with a pinch of salt. You've got to be careful when you reference specific gravity, because the output from specific gravity is a ratio, and a ratio doesn't give us a direction or a magnitude. It's just a concentration, right? It's how much cordial do you put in your drink. You're just getting a ratio. So it doesn't give us a direction or a magnitude, whereas relative density gives us both direction and magnitude, and it's quite calculable, quantifiable, predictable, verifiable. It's all the things that tick the boxes. So yeah, specific gravity's got a useless output, but it is describing the same event to get you to an output.
Okay, don't follow. What's that got to do with chickpeas?
Absolutely nothing.
Why did you say it had a comparison to hummus? I don't get it.
What is the relative? Hold on a sec. What is the relative density of one oxygen particle versus one carbon particle in a 12 by 12 meter space?
You'd have to know what the claimed mass of oxygen is relative to the claimed mass of thingy, and then work out the volume based on the pretty diagrams with the blobs on sticks. And then you could probably calculate it based on...
No, you won't get a vector from that. You get
with a gas molecule.
Randomly.
You get a vector with a gas molecule.
All vectors.
Randomly in all directions.
Yeah, all vectors, Anthony.
Yeah. You don't get relative density with gas because gas doesn't behave like solids or liquids.
So what are you saying? Gas don't go down, go boom, boom?
Correct. And the gas does not go down, go boom, boom. No, contrary to science or pseudoscientists, anti-flat earthers that tell you that it does.
Any evidence that you can have gas pressure without a container?
Do you remember, Nathan, when we asked the rumpus, we were talking about vacuum chambers, and I asked him specifically what would happen if you just injected a little bit of gas in there? Would it pool on the bottom of the container, or would it fill the container? Do you remember that ever happening in one of the early debates?
Yeah, I remember Rumpus saying it would pool on the bottom.
No, he didn't. He said Rumpus's answer was it would fill the volume. He said it would bounce around in all directions, but he was very, very sheepish in how he said it, because we were obviously at the point where we were in discovery mode. We were working out what happens, but he absolutely knew what happened. So he was very sheepish in what he said, because I said, would it pool in the bottom because there's no medium for it to bounce around in, or would it bounce around? And he said, it would. I think it would fill the volume.
There's two things There's two things I'd want out of the old debates. That would be one of them. If there is a concession from him describing gas filling space, then it'd be nice to have that. But the other one is when we were discussing the Isle of Man, and I drew my mouse on screen, shared with him, and asked him what this was. Now, what I'm drawing is that diffraction limit point in the Isle of Man just below the Mackled Lighthouse, where it's inverted as a mirage. You've got a horizon that's 1/4 of an inch in frame, because it's got a mirage line and a mirrored image directly below it that's really obvious. Now, at that point, we're discussing the Earth curve maths, and it's just the inference of it being Earth curve that's being discussed, while they claim how much should or shouldn't be there. But when he got to the actual claim of the physical geometric limitation known as Earth curve, the horizon, I'm asking Rumpus, what's this? And pointing out a mirrored inversion at the point of diffraction, as we can now describe it. And he really, really struggled to give me an answer. He should have just said Earth curve. He didn't. I'd love to find that again. I've looked for it several times.
I've looked for the one about the injection of gas in a vacuum and would it fill it or not.
There's just so many of them, right? And they're all 4 hours long. Probably 100 episodes that could be in.
Any one of them. And even when you're looking for it, like, you can miss it really easily, even though you're looking for it. So you could spend hours looking back over them and just can't find it.
Right, let's move on. Where were we? Gas pressure without a container. Any evidence of R? Earth radius?
It's only in the maths, isn't it? Wasn't it Rumpus that admitted that?
Yeah.
Only in the maths from a flat plane.
Did you know that, Anthony? Our argument has actually taken a slight evolution in the respect that it will eventually evolve into a slightly new housekeeping question being added, or an adaptation of any evidence of the R value. because there are values derived from a flat plane also.
There are values. I thought that was just calculated, assuming that the Earth was a sphere, and you calculated the circumference.
You try and
No.
infer any physical... Go ahead, John.
You're talking about a curve calculator, not the curve calculator or the Earth curve calculator or angle measurements to Polaris to give you a circumference. That's the only two ways to do it.
What's the difference?
A curve calculator doesn't use measurement.
Run that by me again.
You can beg the question of R, but just having it, right? We know that. But in reality, where do you get R from, Anthony?
Well, you have to beg the question. Just assume that you're on a globe.
No. Got something in practical application that they can measure. Minimum elevation angle measurement to Polaris gives you what you would infer after the conversion to be the outside edge of a sphere, aka the equator. That's a flat plane measurement.
Or you could do the Alberuni method and measure the height of a mountain from a flat plane, go to the top of that mountain, measure your angle from a flat plane to a flat plane where that flat plane appears to meet the sky, and calculate the
dip.
The dip below the flat plane you just measured to get your radius value. So there's two ways to do it.
Well, this is interesting for Anthony. When we had dip thrown at us by Rumpus, it's like them throwing out the most damning part of their evidence that would fail as a claim in the positive assertion to scare us off looking at it. The differential between surface level, flat, and eye level, flat, labelled in the maths. Go have a look. Go look at Mick West's maths. It's got eye level and surface level as part of the calculation. Now, Alberuni's differential between eye level and surface level is their dip measurement, isn't it, Anthony?
Yeah.
That's a flat Earth measurement to give them R. That's flat Earth they're measuring. Surface level, flat. Height of mountain, flat. Eye level, flat. Differential between the two. That's what your extrapolation is. That gives you R. Or minimum elevation angle measurement to Polaris, both off a flat plane.
So what would be the evolution that they're going to change? You were referencing an evolution initially. What would the evolution be?
Not any evidence of the R value, because any evidence of the R value leads to the conclusion that to acquire in physical terms will require a flat plane. So you can appreciate the devastating nature of that and how that should be incorporated into our housekeeping.
Yeah, they'll just skirt around that as though it's minor.
Oh, how so? I'll quote, as he's here on the panel, I'll quote him. You guys need a flat plane more than we do. End quote, refracted curvature.
I'm assuming that was conspiracy cats.
No, it's he's on the panel with you. That's him telling our opponents in debate where they utilise a flat plane and pointing out that in order to claim a globe, at some stage, if you're claiming that you've got a physical measurement in practical terms, that's in actual reality, will be referenced to a flat plane. So when they come here and start talking about things like orbits, as we discussed that with you earlier, let's go to that one. Someone comes in and claims orbits. We take them to their necessity to measure angles off a flat plane. Then you get John's quote. You guys need a flat plane more than we do, because to make that claim of orbits required them to have a measurement of Earth to reference it with respect to the angles to describe the orbits. Flat plane required.
Well, wouldn't they just say, well, we have a tangential plane?
When you're measuring the actual surface, what you're measuring is the plane. So you can say, okay, so your description is to say that what you're actually measuring, the flat baseline you are referring to, it's a plane of reference, isn't the ground. The ground's actually a dangling dingleberry below the surface you are in physical reality measuring. So we should assume that the flat plane you're measuring in physical practical terms isn't really the ground. For a reference, it's a reference plane, Anthony.
Yeah, you can't claim tangent plane on that one, else you throw out Earth curve geometry, orbits, celestial navigation, eccentricity, which would be gravity, Newtonian gravity. You're getting rid of a plane of reference to describe orbital mechanics from. You're trashing the whole thing.
Why we're still here,
So
Anthony. The foundation of a globe Earth claim is a flat Earth measurement. That's why we're tolerated. It's the only reason. It can be no other way. We'd been censored out of existence if that wasn't the case. But for the necessity of a flat Earth, you can't make a globe claim.
That's right, because you have to pervert the flat plane measurements in the first instance.
Yep. So you're going to need a flat plane for that globe that you claim.
Yeah,
Painfuller.
of course.
Alberiani.
That's racist.
Yeah, but it goes well with poppadoms.
It's like stepping into Wonderland anymore, man. Like, everyone's mad here, it seems.
I love a good Alberuni with poppadoms.
Okay, there's one more housekeeping question, then we'll get back onto the video we were covering yesterday. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
What is there evidence for that?
Well, it's the original housekeeping question. Did Paul Voigt get back to you?
I can't remember. No, we never. Paul Voigt. Who's Paul Voigt? But yeah, I remember. I can't actually remember what their evidence is for a molten iron core. What is their evidence for that?
Primary and secondary wave angle return signals off.
Oh yeah, P waves and S waves from conspiracy cats. I remember.
There's more to it. Not just P waves and S waves. What are P waves and S waves?
It's the primary and the secondary wave as a result of a ping, a blast radius.
Right, and how are you describing it? You're getting a return angle.
So you're getting a return time. They describe it as an angle.
It is an angle.
Yeah, it is an angle. It's an angle of incident. You can describe that with over time.
Yeah, but they describe that with reference to bouncing off the inside of a circle.
No, you can't describe an angle from a circle, Anthony.
But that's how they describe it.
No, they don't. They reference it to a plane also.
Do they? I thought,
yes.
No.
Yeah, it's a return angle.
If you think back to the conspiracy cats and he used those two illustrations, he had the ball and they were bouncing around internally, like internal angles.
Were they?
And then he had another one that was a flat plane that had the angles on it, didn't he? And then he
I don't remember the other one.
Yes, he did.
I just remember the pretty pictures.
That's how it works, Anthony. Just fact.
I just remember the pretty pictures.
Yeah, so you're going to need a flat plane for those return angles.
Yeah, what they do is they measure it as a flat plane, and then they say, we know it's not a flat plane, so let's just take these angles and use them on the inside of a sphere from a point.
Yeah,
That's all
can you
we're
actually,
doing.
if you get a crystal ball, one of those glass balls that Mystic Meg uses, can you shine a light through it and create internal angle reflection lights? I don't think you can you?
I don't know. What I do know is that return angle is referenced to a plane when you're doing primary waves and secondary waves for the measurements that they're taken to do things like the Kohler borehole or anything.
Yeah.
Right, like 8 miles below surface level.
Yeah. Below surface level, Anthony. Level.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, you're going to need a flat plane for that.
Yeah, because they always need to pervert Euclidean geometry or flat angles, flat planes, flat anything. They've got to pervert that into a curve at all times.
So that's quite profound, though. That's an excellent summary. But that is profound because what you're suggesting is, and it is the case, in order to make any claim, you first have to start with a measurement in reality or a reality-based measurement that you put pen to paper or tape measure to ground in this respect. And when you do, you measure the world as it actually is, because that's the only way you can measure it. Everything else beyond that is a perversion of that measurement. Well, what is that measurement? It's a measurement of a flat plane in all instances.
That's the cover up, isn't it? That's the big lie. That's the big deception. Everything is based on that. And yet they then extrapolate and convert out and pervert everything. But that's what it's all based on. If everybody was aware and knew and was taught that, unbelievable.
Yeah, they're just taught the step afterwards, after the extrapolation, and how things can be back engineered from a sphere. No, all the angles that they'll describe will be to a sphere from that point forward. And it will work mathematically. And you can back calculate it to the center of a sphere, so it'll work on a plane in a sphere. But in terms of physical, actual, practically acquirable measurements, they'll always be with respect to a plane, because that's what the world is. Earth is flat. How else are you going to measure it? And they do. Right, that's housekeeping.
Right,
Nice and
and
concise. 25 minutes of full housekeeping. I'm really chuffed with that. Thank you, gentlemen.
And this is a what is topic. So measurement is kind of the big guy on the block of what is.
Right. Okay, 82 people watching. So very warm welcome if you've just got here. We are continuing with a video that we tailed off of yesterday's show, which I'm going to put a link to now in the live stream chat. Now, as is always the case when we, in effect, promote these much larger YouTubers with our meager audience that I am very delighted to have. Thank you very much for being here. We boost them in the algorithm by letting them know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a response to your video. And the idea is that they would do the same for us and share the algorithmic love where YouTube provide none for us, because we start with the origins of your globe claim, which is a flat earth. Now, that's a necessity that will mean we'll never be erased out of existence arbitrarily. We can't be, because what we're talking about, especially on this show, are necessities for a globe. So to eradicate us would mean you have to eradicate all of celestial navigation videos, because algorithmically it isn't possible to iron out us in that regard, because it is factually accurate when we describe the flat plane requirement that a globe is inferring, and the globe believers use it after the measurement of a flat plane has been taken and is in play. Just ignore the fact that it's been taken from a flat plane and infer everything globe-shaped thereafter. So that is why we are still here, and I'm very glad we are. Please let this videographer know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. His name is Tyler Oliveira, and he was at the Flattoberfest. So if you want to catch up with the first half of this, or the first 7 minutes, as it's a 20-minute video, then check out yesterday's show. But we're going to continue from here, unless anybody's got anything to add, which I'm sure they probably have. We'll see.
What was the hijacking of the Flattoberfest? What went on there? I'm sure it was you.
You're about to find out. You're about to find out.
The Earth. Hold on to Pluto, but it can't affect the moon. You know who is in charge of all international flights? NASA.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
NASA is in charge of
Actually?
and they run GPS.
Not a single commercial plane has flown over Antarctica?
No, none, ever.
Whoa,
Now,
why?
Because you can't fly over Antarctica. Look at the Earth. They'll come over Antarctica.
So Dave's now employing a reification fallacy when he points at an azimuthal equidistant projection on his app and says, look at the Earth. No, Dave, no, that's an azimuthal equidistant projection with a clock on it that you made. But you're going to tell him that's the Earth. You're not God. Now, that's the first issue. The second issue is that exact methodology has been employed to deceive people onto the globe. Some guy like you exercising his authority and pointing at a model and telling them that is the world. Textbook reification fallacy.
And then they'll just come back. But there's so many pilots now that have spoken out, military and commercial pilots.
A little bit too much for my brain.
This one's going to send you over the edge.
All right.
Okay?
No pun intended.
Over the edge. Southern flights prove that the Earth is not a ball. This is the...
Do they? Based on what? This map? I see. But the map itself is derived through concepts that could only be in place if Earth is flat. So this third generation argument from a flat Earth measurement to a globe Earth projection back to an azimuthal equidistant globe-based projection of a flat map with an ice wall around it that you say matches up with the... This is useless. And it's so freaking out of date, it's untrue.
World Cup soccer.
Oh.
Okay? They were in Doha. They
I
wanted
mean, if Brian was here, he'd be jumping in, pointing out that the methodology to make this map requires a flat plane.
to go back to Buenos Aires. They went to Rome to refuel, and then they went back there. Why didn't they just go here? Because
Has Dave actually verified any of this? I mean, we got all this information through our propaganda-laced media outlets that he will, in the next breath, decry. I'm not saying he will actually, in the next breath, decry it, but in any given next breath, he could decry those exact same media outlets. But even at face value, how much of this has actually been verified by any flat earthers who's claimed it, including me many, many years ago when I was a lot more naive? The answer is none. There's no historic information that's going to be provided next by Dave, just his reification fallacy with this triangle on it.
if they did, there's no place to refuel out here. On a flat Earth, Doha, Rome, Buenos Aires.
That's not on a flat Earth, that's on the azimuthal equidistant projection. That's a globe projection, projected circularly, that could be plotted from any point on Earth with the same methodology that you use to project out the world in an azimuthal manner. But the original projection for that map is globe-shaped, and the original grid designation comes from flat Earth angles to Polaris. So its history proves a flat Earth when you go back to the origin of how the map's made. But as for the map, after its multitude of distortions and projections, proving that this is the direction that they travelled, did you take the flight? Did you track the flight? Did you follow alongside it with a verified map to compare to? You did none of those things. So you're just out there dangling your balls out for people to kick.
Taiwan to Los Angeles. They had an emergency.
Let's just let whoever that is in. Adam.
Here. Well, where would you land? Well, you could go to Hawaii. You might as well go to Los Angeles. Instead, they went all the way to Alaska. Okay?
Flat Earth.
Right? Flat Earth, Taiwan, Alaska, Los Angeles.
Ooh.
Now, just a projection, a globe projection. When you say flat Earth and point at this map, again, just continual textbook reification fallacy. The map is not the terrain.
So here's an emergency. They were going from New York to Hawaii, right about here, and they said we have to land. So they went to Seattle, which is like 1,000 miles out of the way. They got there in
This might go on for a while. If it does, I'm going to spin on this boring section.
record time. Thing. NASA isn't a space agency. NASA is the World Intelligence Agency. Everyone reports to them. FBI, CIA, KGB, CCP.
How do you know? As validated by what?
Well, why would they lie about the shape of the Earth? What difference does it make?
You didn't ask that question. This is so disappointing.
NASA was created right after Project High Jump when Admiral Byrd.
We get it straight. We're going to now appeal to Admiral Byrd and High Jump. So again, this same man, David Weiss, will belittle and demean all sources of information in this regard if it serves his interest. But in this particular regard, suddenly we can take it as read that all of this information is correct and valid because it supports his narrative. Okay? How does he know any of this? What's he validated?
Flew out in Antarctica. On the other side of the South Pole, he found land bigger than the United States, filled with resources. Look at
So, is that true? Have you validated that? Does that mean there's an ice wall? Does it prove Earth's flat? Does that definitely check out based on the propaganda-laced information that you would stand in opposition to most of the time, beyond the affirmation of your own narrative with this particular piece of fleeced of nonsense garbage?
Look at that. From Middle America, he would be in where South Africa is or where Australia is.
Based on what map that you've got to compare it to? How much cartography have you done to validate where things would be on your map that was a globe projection that came from a grid system that was taken with flat Earth elevation angle measurements to Polaris? Why aren't you proving Earth's flat with this? There's far superior arguments.
And another continent the size of the United States that no one has ever seen or set foot upon?
So what? Even if there was, who cares? What does this prove?
What does that mean? What if he went
Doesn't mean anything. Now we're on to Kobayashi, more puddle speculation.
from Middle America over what they call Antarctica and then found another continent out here.
Then that would destroy our whole worldview of reality.
Now,
It would if it had happened.
what if there's
Shut him up.
other...
Again.
Shut him up. Like diarrhea.
I mean, in terms of appeal to the Kobayashi, right? That map that he had that looked like a load of little dotted islands around a azimuthal equidistant projection, or close enough. Well, in our recent history, we can show that the horizon and what was beyond was known as outer space. And when they travelled to the unknown realms of outer space, they found new worlds with aliens on them. Not figuratively, not suggesting that that is hypothetically what they could describe them as. That is what they documented as doing and finding. New worlds in outer space. Okay. Notwithstanding the fact that you can demonstrate that to be how our world progressed on the maps and show documented evidence of there wasn't a new world here, now there is on the map because we found it. Out in space. Beyond the horizon where the new worlds are found. Like all these other worlds we found in the hundreds of years prior. Look, another new world that we didn't know existed. Now documented on this map as a new world. What about all those third world countries out there? My bad. Shh. Developing countries. Got to get the lingo right. Wouldn't want to allude to the new worlds discovered in outer space. Because people might get the wrong idea. Now, I'm not being funny, but that twisting of what is essentially a crap argument would be far more effective than what Dave is employing. But would I do that? It's still got to have a pepper of speculation in it. It doesn't really lean on any factual evidence that Earth is flat. It just shows the progress of discovery and how a cross-reference to space, interesting though it may be, was used when describing actual new worlds that we all talk about openly and celebrate with holidays. But you're going to lean on the Kobayashi. Well, if we did happen to find new worlds, we have. It's really easy to show if you want to make that point. But wouldn't it be better to point out how these maps necessitate a flat plane? Like all of them, without exception. To have that grid on them, you're going to be measuring the stars, because that's how navigation operates. So therefore, having a good understanding of what maps do and how they work with the stars, and how that needs a flat plane, would be a far superior argument. Even if I can twist Dave's crap argument from 2015 into a far more coherent and concise explanation with documented evidence of finding new worlds, and point out the revelation that was formerly known as space. But now what's that? All the sand and land is up in the sky? Those twinkling lights have got all the soil. Here's us driving around on a twinkling light in the bloody sky. Now that would make him think. Me, I don't give a toss about making this idiot think. I can prove it's flat. Why do I need to cog his brains going about how the new worlds I can show were discovered in our recent history? Some of your ancestors would remember it and even use the maps with them described as new worlds on them. Doesn't prove it's flat, does it? But how the map works does. It's not getting referenced by Dave because we're shunned in this community for whatever reason. Maybe it's full of shills, who knows? Maybe the guy with the divining rods that Russian vids was referencing was right and Dave's just out and out shill here to disrupt the movement with his garbage arguments he's keeping in place. Feast of nonsense is his job and that's what he's peddling.
Civilizations here. What if these are where the controllers of the world live?
What if? What if I could prove Earth's flat? Would you use that argument, Dave, or would you shut me down like you did when I offered you these exceptionally good arguments to put to these people? I'm pretty sure you shut me down because you didn't want these good arguments. You'd rather offer this guy speculation and get ridiculed so that the feast of nonsense is perpetuated throughout the masses in the best possible way.
Okay, what if...
I'm getting chills right now.
You're not getting killed. No, you're getting scattergun with misinformation straight from the feast of nonsense. You're not having to do any work. That's why you smiled.
The reality, your soul is going, yes, listen, right? Get rid of your programmed mind. People don't realize, well, Russia would have ratted us out and this.
Do you think Dave realises how big a nutter he looks? how easy it is to make him look stupid and crazy. I assumed you've watched this video, Dave.
And that they're all in it together. Everything that you know is a lie.
My offer was on the table 12 months to 18 months, 2 years ago to Dave. I can educate you, Dave. I can put you in a position where next time you're in front of some curly-haired muppet, he doesn't make an abject fool of you, because you do convert him, if that's what you desire, by facts that he can't get around, that he can't edit his way around. In this instance, every chunk of information you've opened your mouth with, he's just took it and put it straight in the edit because it makes you look silly.
The United Nations map, Flat Earth map, International Maritime Organization, Flat Earth map, World Meteorological Organization, Flat Earth map.
Globe projection, globe projection, globe projection, and another globe projection is what I would respond to it with if I had any clue. This guy's a novice, doesn't know what he's doing, and hasn't got a necessity to offer up that based on Dave's baseless assertion that's easily overcome by a globe believer. Meanwhile, the grid system that's being utilised does require a flat plane to develop the grid.
International Civil Aviation Organization. These are the things that control the world. Why do they all have flat Earth maps?
Well, I don't know. Artistically, maybe they couldn't.
Artistically?
Yeah, he can offer up his useless argument in rebuttal, and it's enough, isn't it? That's what he has ably demonstrated by giving you a basic hand wave. No, it's giving you better than a hand wave. He's giving you a moderately plausible, well, start work. Who cares? What does that prove? He might as well have said.
That's your explanation? Now let me ask you a question. If this is where we live, would you
It isn't.
call this the outer space?
Sure.
What
Yeah,
is
that's how it's documented. Oh my God.
it? More land? Extra territory? Extra terra?
Extraterrestrials.
Extraterrestrials from where?
Outer space.
Bingo. So why does it
You've noticed how when I spun the argument that Dave just failed miserably with, pretty sure that's a Nathan Oakley, one of the only Nathan Oakley original arguments in terms of putting that all together as a coherent argument, in terms of how documented evidence shows new worlds, outer space, and how we do describe aliens in common vernacular. Don't need to flash it up, but he's managed to contextually spin what Dave said by giving half-assed attempts to put what I have put forth many times as an argument into some sort of coherency for his opponent. And it's come off as him talking about aliens, like aliens from outer space, greys, because that's what he flashed up.
Nathan, do you remember that Sting song? Whoa,
I'm an alien. I'm an illegal alien. I'm an Englishman in New York. Yeah, I do.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That song. He's talking about legal aliens. He's talking about what you're saying.
Yeah,
in that
exactly.
song.
On the new worlds. Yeah, it's really easy to prove, but he's picked the Kobayashi, so he's got nothing to lean on other than the speculation of some garbage map. Like, just go back to an actual map that doesn't have one of the new worlds on it, and then show one that does. And then show a book where they describe it as outer space, and then your point's been made. It didn't prove a flat Earth. It's not something I would ever use if I was in this situation. If you're referring to any maps, but when I say you, I mean my opponent. The opponent in this scenario hasn't had to do a damn thing. Unitox Femi, shout out to you for the super chat. It says sea level is leveled between old and new world. Fair enough. Thanks for the super chat.
doesn't matter? Then when you understand that we're actually at the center of creation, this place was built for us, and we have natural law which says that nobody can take our free will away. Once you understand.
Oh my God. No. Natural law isn't the law of the land or not having your free will taken away. Right? Laws of nature describe things that occur always, not losing your freedom. Right? That's a concept that you're trying to fight for. Oh God. Laws of nature describe things that occur always. For example, second law of thermodynamics, dispersion, osmosis, entropy. Those are things that you will observe to occur always, in all circumstances. They're described as laws of nature. Having your free will or freedom taken away, these concepts, they're not laws of nature. Oh, God.
Understand that nobody has control over you, you take your power back. You stop feeding this beast system that we're in. Globers think they know everything, but they don't know anything. And it's only for those that are willing to look and understand and see why it matters that get it. You know, once you get it, you can't unget it.
Is the Earth flat? Is gravity?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's measured that way. All of the maps you had on screen require a flat plane to be derived from angle measurements, that's off a flat plane, to the stars. So yeah, it is. All of your systems that infer the Earth's sphere start with measurements from a flat plane. Definitely.
Gravity real?
I don't even know what to think anymore.
If you'd have spoken to me, you'd know it's flat.
Could NASA be behind the biggest cover-up in human history? And
NASA are behind a lie. That much I can say without any question whatsoever. You can't travel to an area that doesn't exist. If the sky was a vacuum, all the gas we breathe would fill it. Natural law, second law of thermodynamics, gas fills space. It's a really easy argument to understand unless you're Dave Weiss. Gas fills space. So is the gas you're breathing in that car filling the sky vacuum in line with entropic laws of nature, things that occur always? No, it's not, because the sky is not a vacuum. If rockets could travel to an area of volume that gas could fill, so would the gas. So rockets aren't travelling to an area that gas could fill, we'd all be dead. Every photo from space ever provided by NASA is fake automatically, because they can't go to Narnia. They can't go to space. Space is fake. It violates the law of nature.
what are they hiding behind Antarctica? Science?
Who cares? Space is fake. What Antarctica has to offer is a red herring offered up at the Feast of Nonsense to keep you occupied. Meanwhile, Earth's measured flat. All globe claims come from flat Earth measurements, and space is fake.
Just hit me in the comments section because I don't know anymore. I am.
Oh, let him know. At Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. You've been called to action by this gentleman to do just that. That is to say, go to his comments, specifically at his BS, let him know. We saw you in a response video asking us to leave comments on your video that Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me and responded directly to your questions. Please, I implore you, if you're an audience member, there is a link going by right now in the chat. There's just under 100 people watching. Please let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, and specifically detail that the questions he wants answers to, he has received. Past tense, we've done this.
Curious how deep this rabbit hole goes and where it will lead me. So I flew to Las Vegas to attend Flattoberfest, a flat earth convention, to see who else had drank the Kool-Aid. We learned a lot from Dave, but
He drank the Kool-Aid? You wouldn't be talking in those terms if you knew it was measured flat.
now we need to figure out, is this actually legitimate? Let's go.
So Dave didn't succeed then? Because as far as he's concerned, you're all nutters drinking Kool-Aid.
Oh, you go to the flat earth convention?
Yes,
Oh, right on. What caused you to become a flat earther?
Not what have you got to prove the earth is flat? It's just what do you have to exercise your belief? Right question based on what he's got so far. Disappointing that that's the question he's asking.
I was flying to Vegas and got on a flight. It was like, Earth is flat. And I'm like, you're an idiot.
Sure.
So then I spent like years researching it.
Okay.
And so I think a lot of people have a hard time accepting that the government.
We've gone from, I spent years researching it. Okay, what did you find out? Where's your proof? Now, maybe people who watch this that aren't aware of flat earth debate, but are flat earthers, will listen into this now and go, hold on, aren't you on her side? Poor Blondie. Surely you empathise with... No. I know most flat earthers believe Earth is flat. And from what I've seen in this edit, that's the case with this woman. She believes Earth is flat and has done a lot of research. You watched a lot of YouTube. What did you find out? What's your proof? I can almost guarantee that she won't have any.
Or a select few people or whatever in control of like all this information that
A bit like what Dave just said.
they're being fed lies. Set down the indoctrination of what you were told to
It's
believe.
all about indoctrination. Like, which lies? What lies? Where's the proof? Where's the lies? What lies?
And just like use your mental power.
Do you believe in a flat earth?
It's just use your mental power. About as useless as Dave Weiss did.
Do you have a response to this?
I mean, you ever feel compelled to research the truth, by all means.
So your evidence is that you've done research. I've done research. Earth is flat. All right. Okay. Well, you've just had it put to you that you could challenge this man who doesn't think the earth is flat based on that research. And your response to that is to say, well, if you did the research, how about Earth's measured flat. That would be a much better response because it's a fact.
You will be a lot more sold into it rather than someone telling you what to think.
With fellow flat earthers everywhere around me, I entered the convention to see if they could answer the questions Flat Earth Dave had left me with.
Let's see what Dave's left on the table and let's see if we can answer them. Or if they're relevant.
This planet's our only home.
There is no reality.
It doesn't make any sense.
None whatsoever.
No, you're right. How many attendees do we have today?
I don't know, maybe 300-400. Maybe 400. Thank you.
Yeah, got fans.
Yeah.
After reuniting with Dave, I walked into the event that began with a declaration of war.
And to the trolls, I will give you the same statement I gave back in 2015. Bringing people to your channel to make fun of Flat Earth is like shooting wooden arrows into a bonfire. From a distance, it looks like you're doing something. Kern exposing more and more people to our truth. And you never stood a chance.
That Mark Sargent.
Yeah! Okay, yeah, I have a question. First of all, I feel empowered to be here around all my Flat Earth brethren and sisters right now, so...
So you're a liar?
Thank you.
I titled this live stream in yesterday's live stream, Faking Flerf. He's a liar, isn't he? When he stands up and says, amongst my flat earth brethren. Now, indirectly, you may not realise it, but that is true. Whether you like it or not, you're a flat earther. You stand upon a flat earth. But that's not how he means it, is it?
Secondly, what I wanted to ask was, I have a girlfriend, God bless her soul, who...
Why, is she dead?
I saw Logan Paul, who pulled this stunt a few years back.
She's not dead. It's worse than that. She's a glober. How can I get my girlfriend to see the light?
Show her it's measured flat. Show her how some of the proofs that she claims to prove a globe utilise a flat plane when practically measured. That would convince her, because there's no getting around it. It's statements of facts in terms of measurements that are practically applied to the Earth that you're standing on, and it's flat. That would prove it to her.
Why doesn't that work on all the anti-flat earthers then, Nathan?
Why do they rinse and repeat their original claim they thought proved a flat Earth, and then when it's shown to prove a flat Earth, they still want to assert that it proves a globe? I don't know.
Your answer then was show your girlfriend that the Earth is measured flat. That she can't deny that. Basically, that's rock solid. But if that was the case, then there would be no anti-flat earthers arguing against us because they would have to accept it, but they don't accept it.
Okay, let's just see how true that is right here, right now. How many anti-flat earthers, given that this is an open door panel where literally any of the 100 people watching can join right now, would like to tell me that Earth isn't measured flat? It seems like your estimation that there wouldn't be any anti-flat earthers is true, Anthony. There's no globers here. Why? Well, because they've all watched and know damn well that they'll lose instantly when they have their requirement for a flat plane pointed out to them, so they choose not to come. It's easy to just stay away, Anthony.
Yeah, but why haven't they all been converted, though?
Well, they've got a fundamentalist religious zealot belief that Earth is a sphere, regardless of any evidence. That's zealotry.
No amount of evidence can ever persuade an idiot.
It really depends on the circumstances. Does she have a master's degree in anything?
No.
Okay.
Who cares? Sorry, Mark, but what does that matter?
Does she have a bachelor's degree in something?
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yes.
Is in physical science?
No.
She's got a shot. Did she have any family members that used to
No, it's for a gag. Fair enough.
work in aerospace?
Her grandfather's a NASA scientist.
Ah, that's interesting. So, when you say NASA scientist, we can't automatically assume that the question we ask in terms of scientific validity being offered from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics wouldn't be capable of being answered by this particular grandparent. However, their exercising of a cause and effect relationship or the elucidation thereof would be science. NASA don't do that. There is no NASA science. Therefore, there is no NASA scientist.
Oh
And how old are you?
I'm 23.
Oh, dude, you have plenty of time. There's so many people out there.
Let me ask you this. Is being a part of this community worth everything?
Yes.
All my friends hate me. My family thinks I'm a fool. My relationship's struggling.
We're not part of that community.
No, and I don't know about you, Nathan, but none of my friends hate me for this. However, I do have a friend. I do have a friend that is a police officer, and he told me that when he joined the police, all of his friends turned their back. Not all, but most of his friends turned their back on him for whatever reason. And I'm like, so you've had more experience of your friends turning your back on you than I have. Yeah, I'm the flat earther. That makes me feel cozy.
Well, that's an impression that's created within a sub-community that's grown larger than us. This sub-community has a lot of backbiting, backstabbing, calling you a scammer, things of that nature. It's quite, what's the word? I was going to say depraved, but it's not the right word.
Vitriolic.
Yeah, it's not a nice community. What is the flat earth community that lots of people don't want to be a part of, irrespective of whether or not they're a flat earther? They might shun flat earth in quotes because it's a community that this guy is literally in front of now. And he's echoing the sentiments of perhaps what is true for many of the members of that particular community within a community of flat earth.
I'd go as far as to say that my friend that joined the police lost more friends upon joining the police than I ever did when I said, because what I find when I say, yeah, I'm not sure the Earth's a globe, the first thing that they go is, really? Why not? And then I say, well, there's no evidence that it's a globe other than belief. And then they say, so you're a flat earther? And I just say, you can call me that if you want. I consider myself to be an empiricist. But if you want to call that empiricism or empiricism nature flat earther, then that's up to you. But I want to see proof. And there is no proof. It's just a belief. And then it starts them questioning everything. But my friend definitely lost more friends than I did upon joining the police than ever I did when I, quote, came out of the closet.
Yeah.
Just an interesting factoid.
Well, quite the reverse for me. You know, I've made many new friends as a result of being in this subject.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'd say it's the reverse. I've made a lot of enemies as well. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that the enemies are not there. But I've met a lot of decent people that are genuinely asking all the right questions. That might make the odd mistake along the way. Who cares? We're all discovering, right? But I've not lost anything in my position. But my friend lost a lot when he joined the police. He became one of them.
Speaking of Mark Sargent, as he's doing the talk right now to this guy, his most recent video, I haven't done any historic research on this. It was just a stat that he threw up that I thought was interesting. This, regardless of the research, the stat showed that 10% of people are flat earthers in the Western world. That's such a high number. A lot of people.
Yeah.
I don't lend much credence to these sorts of statistics, but, you know, it was just interesting to see.
Say something like 8% of all facts claimed are all made up on the spot.
That's Vic. It's Vic Reeves. It's a quote. I don't know. I can never remember the actual statistic he gave, but it's something like 68.3% of all statistics are made up on the spot.
Whilst he made that statistic up on the spot.
Exactly. It's more funny if I pretend that it's important that I remember the number he gave. That makes it more funny.
Yeah.
Under the club.
Yeah, that wouldn't be my attitude, I'm afraid, Mark. I know it's yours, and I'm not going to knock you for it because you're dealing with the reality of the masses in flat Earth. I like that term, the masses in flat Earth. And maybe they do lose relationships over this. And a lot of that side of flat Earth peddle that as a notion. I don't know why. Because, like you say, Anthony, that's not necessarily my experience. I've got into heated discussions with family members early on when I was ignorant. But not so much now. In fact, not at all now.
Not at all for me either. I didn't lose.
Sorry, go on, Anthony.
I didn't lose any friends or family members as a result of flat Earth. None.
No, me neither.
Deceived.
Well, you are new.
I mean, you could say, sorry to keep it on the same subject, that, well, you new friends are obviously, you know, the people online and the people that are a bit more one section detached. And, you know, yeah, you might make new friends in a new community, like you, Anthony, a specific example. However, I'm trying to convince you, or was in the pre-show, to come to a curry night where there will be a specific discussion topic of flat Earth. Now, it's a long journey for you to come down to me for a local curry night, but that general gist of that happening, right, is something that potentially wouldn't have happened 5 years ago. And the guy who's arranging it, Craig, his name is now a new friend who lives locally that I go out for curry with. Now, formerly, I knew him anyway. I just want to get to the end of this. I knew him anyway because he used to repair my computer back in the day and has done for many years. But he wasn't my mate. I was his customer until he found out I was a flat earther. Then suddenly not suddenly, but you know what I mean? Now I'm his mate as a result of that directly. So, you know, from that perspective, it's not like just I've made more online friends, and some of them, like Anthony, have developed into, and Darwin and a few others, have developed into actual friendships where, you know, we know each other and met each other and hang out a lot of the time, even though that is online. It's more akin to your regular friendship from the 80s or whatever, because we know each other better. But in that case, you know, I've seen Craig as many times as I've seen you in that respect. So I don't know, this sentiment that Mark Sargent's putting out there, I just don't agree with.
No, neither do I. And to be fair, I think it's more than 5 years. You said 5 years, and I was thinking, like, I'm sure it's more than that.
What is?
The duration of time that we've been, like, friends.
Oh, we've known each other almost 10 years. I was saying it to Arwin the other day. And he was like, well, it doesn't seem like that long. I'm like, well, it is.
It's funny as well because one of my closest friends, I don't want to say what he does, but he works for the national government. He works for the UK government, and he actually asked me, even though I'm a flat earther in his eyes, he actually asked me to be a reference for him for his application for the job that he now does in the government. And I said, "Are you sure you want me to be a reference?" I said, "Like, give him who I am and what I am." He says, "Look, they just need somebody that's known me for more than 20 years." And he said, "And you're the only one I can think of." Now, he's an Aston Villa fan, all right? And obviously being an Aston Villa fan, and they're doing really well at the moment, but we're always taking jabs at each other. And he really misses Steven Gerrard's retiring, like, because he loves to hate Gerrard. So obviously Gerrard's been a big player for Liverpool for many years. That element's gone now. But for the whole of his career, Gerrard's career, he's been constantly whinging about how he's a scummy Liverpool player and all this. But that's what makes the friendship. It's that football friendship connection. And I'm literally his longest serving friend. And he asked me to be a reference for him for his government appointed job that pays him a fantastic wage. And he wanted me to do it. And I'm like, if they look into my background, they're not going to give you a job in the role that you want to be in. But he got the job. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah, it's because they don't care. I mean, I think in that respect, when I said earlier, in the truest sense, we are not censorable for the reasons people might suspect we are. Oh, well, they're disrupting the truth of the nature of the globe that we're on. No, your globe needs a flat plane, and because we're pointing that out, short of censoring out of existence all of the celestial navigation videos, when the basis of your globe is those angles off a flat plane, like it's not possible. I don't think it's algorithmically possible to censor us out of existence for those reasons. There's no justifiable reason to do so.
Nathan, I think censorship is a good thing because, you know, like prohibition, like, for example, in America, when they banned alcohol, there was more alcohol kicking around than ever, you know. Censorship is not a bad thing. And on the issue of friendships, I just fairly recently went and purchased an iPhone 12 Pro Max to upgrade the camera for the phone that I was going to use, the camera that I was using for the Truth Seeker. Anyway, I went and collected it and got into a discussion with this guy. And I was telling him what it was for. You know, I only want this phone, not to be used as a phone, but literally for a camera for my telescope. And then I said to him, you know, Earth is flat. And he said, yeah, no. So we exchanged numbers and we're friends. Unbelievable.
Well, yeah, 5 years ago, I'd have
be surprised how many people know Earth is flat.
Exactly, Neil. 5 years ago, I'd have put the odds of you having a random conversation. We even discussed this literally 5 years ago about 5 people at a bus stop, and the chances of you starting a conversation with man next to you about flat Earth. And at that time, we're like, yeah, the people around would be horrified, and you get lots of tuts and sighs. Whereas today, it's a very different scenario, which you've just exemplified perfectly, which is to say you can have a random discussion with somebody like me and Craig. Oh, so you're a flat earther too? I normally don't mention it, blah, 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 you know, and then you're a mate, because not just it's very unlikely to find another flat earther on the street, It's highly likely to find one.
And like I say, Nathan, with to my mind, the censorship is banning, prohibition, censorship. Every time how many examples can be given of every time this is being done? They did it, when they do it with drugs, and then there's more marijuana flying around than they do it with alcohol in America. It all goes underground, and there's more alcohol flying around than ever before. Censorship, if that's all you've got, well, bring it on, give it us.
Relax.
That's one of the
Don't
The more
do
you
it.
say no, the more we say yes.
That's one of the main reasons
Yes, Neil.
That's one of the main reasons why they don't want to legalize cannabis. The pro-cannabis users that don't want to legalize cannabis is because they'll just tax the hell out of it. And that's just a mockery of the censorship argument, because the whole point of censorship is to protect the public health, right? But the pro-cannabis users don't want it legalized just because it's cheaper while it's illegal.
Yeah. The problem they've got with us, right, is that you're always better off allowing the nutter to speak, aren't you? Give him a platform, put him on the news, put him on the social media, put them there so that they can all be laughed at and listened to and ridiculed and stuff. But the problem they've got with us is that if they do that, they lose. So they have to censorship. But then if you do that, you lose.
Yeah.
Well, no, there's an alternative. There's an alternative halfway house. You want them to be up on stage being ridiculed, but you don't want them up on stage with the right arguments, because then they won't be ridiculed. Yeah. So you need Dave Weiss. That's what you need.
Or Rachie.
Yeah, or Rachie. That's what you need.
Yeah.
It's not what they stand to gain, it's what they stand to lose.
Oh, no, I want a deeper answer. Why? Why?
Okay.
Why are we the select few? What's so special about us?
So there's always going to be people.
Oh, this is going to upset some people in the audience. Nothing. You're not special. Earth was always flat. You just found out you'd been lied to. Figuring out that you've been lied to don't make you special, unfortunately. But really, the fact that they've figured out or believe that there is a flat Earth beneath their feet, in the case of many of the people bums on seats at Flattoberfest, that revelation needs to make them feel special. If you're going to be ridiculed and separated from society as they're portraying, as Mark Sargent has just done, then you need some extra sugar to keep them interested. Well, there's a whole bunch of feast of nonsense garbage to keep people feeling special, feeling like they're on the cusp of free energy, feeling like they're on the cusp of discovering a godlike substance out in the ether. They're always on the cusp of something exciting in this particular part of Flat Earth. And this is possibly why maybe we've got ourselves to blame in terms of the popularity, because we don't have that to sex up what we say with. We point out where you've been lied to. It might be glamorous to point out that you do measure a flat plane to claim a globe, but it doesn't substitute or give answers where there's questions being raised like this guy is. Why was I lied to? I don't know. And we're not going to pretend to. Or, alternatively, this is wanted and desired and lent on by our opponents, if you want to call them that, on the flat Earth side, it's that magic of having an explanation. Your next guru in line is going to tell you that this is the world, pointing at a map in the same way they did with the globe. It's kind of sad, but that is the alternative to having heavy censorship, which will go the other way. We're not Frankie Goes to Hollywood. We haven't been banned off the radio. We're still here.
Relax.
Don't spoil it.
People that go against the grain. The critical thinking, when we spread it, infects other people.
You need to tell him what critical thinking. I mean, personally, I don't think it takes any critical thinking upon my dissemination of the fact that you measure Earth flat. That doesn't actually require any critical thinking skills. Unless I'm wrong. Does anyone want to correct me on that before I stand on that hill?
Yep. You're relying on your knowledge now to say that it doesn't require critical thoughts, but until you gain that knowledge, you have to apply critical thought to get to the point that you're at, to then say you don't need the critical thought.
No, I agree with that. I'm saying to the person I'm speaking to with the information that's fact, at the point of dissemination from me to them now, when I say Earth is measured flat, elevation angle measurements to Polaris give you a radial value to claim a sphere, that doesn't take any critical thought. Now, it might take comprehension. It doesn't take critical thought.
Yeah, that point doesn't. No, that's true.
Well, that's what Mark should lead with.
And yeah, it doesn't work on everybody. Probably like your girlfriend. Well, if she ever brings up the Dunning-Kruger.
What doesn't work? Having critical thinking skills. You're giving these people a vague notion of exercising thought as a proof of flat Earth. I mean, it's below the lowest possible standard.
Effect, then, you know, just...
That's what she said I was a victim of. I was like,
Are you serious?
yes.
Oh, yeah. All right. All right.
She's gaslighting me? Yeah, anyways, thanks.
After telling the story of my non-believer girlfriend, several flat earthers came to me telling me stories of how they too had lost relationships due to their belief in the flat earth.
My 18-year marriage ended as a result. I sort of opened my eyes.
So he would question.
Bites.
The biggest problem with this is that to have this, you need a sun, you need this orbiting around it, you need planets around that, you need calculus, you need trig, you need quantum mechanics. Unfathomable numbers. We can't even do it.
You don't need quantum mechanics for that. Also, you need a flat plane for that. The grid on his map he's holding is derived from a flat plane measurement that's then converted onto a globe to then project onto an azimuthal equidistant projection to give him his ice wall-based map, to then describe orbital mechanics, angular relationships from a flat plane. I don't know. Why are our compadres on our own side so behind our arguments? What's going on?
Because they don't want to listen to our arguments, because if they say Nathan Oakley says that blah, 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 they focus more on the Nathan Oakley bit rather than the argument itself.
But when I put out, when I don't make it sound like these arguments have started with me, but when I put out these arguments, I make it clear, regardless of where I've got them from, that when you take ownership of any argument, it becomes your argument. If you're arguing it, if you win, it's your win. Now, you could, if you chose to, credit the origin of the argument, if you wanted to, but you don't have to. Now, that works both ways, and I'll give you the other side of that coin just so it's there, which is to say that if you lose, you can't blame the person who gave you the argument, or where you originally got the argument from, for your loss. Ownership means that you take ownership when you lose, you take ownership when you win. It becomes your argument. So the other day, QE wrote down something to the effect of, you know, I've worked hard to learn these arguments or develop these arguments, and I do want paying for them if I'm going to support my family with a YouTube career. And John wrote it down because I'm essentially saying in that sentiment, along with another half to it, that they're my arguments. I'm the one who's given you these arguments. It's like, no. You've got many of them from other people. But I didn't necessitate a credit in that instance. Now, after the fact, I can laughingly credit everybody who has given me those arguments. But in the moment, when I'm arguing with a particular individual, they are my arguments, and I will take the credit for the win if I win with those arguments, because they're mine at that point. Credit might be offered, but it doesn't require it, is my point. Ergo, if the argument is to say, I don't want to put this argument forth because it's a quantum eraser argument, for the sake of argument, then you don't have to credit QE. You own that argument, girl. You go, girl. Take that argument. It's yours. Now, after the fact, people may suggest in the comments, he originally got that argument from quantum eraser. Is anybody going to give a toss if you won? No, not at all. So it doesn't matter that it's come from us. My point is, these arguments win. Why wouldn't you want to take ownership of them?
It's funny because I always get one of the trolls that likes to think he likes to think he's got one over on me. He often says something like, why is it that if flat Earth is so true, why is it that it's had no effect on science whatsoever? And I say back to him, well, what effect would you have it on? What effect on science would you expect it to have, given that science doesn't care about people's thoughts or opinions? It's only interested in cause and effect relationships and wiggling independent variables. So, like, he's trying to belittle me with the "you haven't achieved anything" argument, and all I do is spit it back to him and say, well, science wouldn't care whether I had an opinion on it or not, because it's only a method. But the point he's trying to make is you haven't contributed anything at all to the world of science generally. Therefore, you haven't achieved anything. Yet everyone knows what relative density is now, right? Regardless of whether you agree with it or not, you know that there is something to do with the medium relative to the matter in question. And you know that if you vary that medium and cause the acceleration of some of the matter, you are causing that. And a lot of people now recognize that. They can describe it. But that in itself is an achievement, because that phrase didn't exist until recently, and it did come from here. it did come from messing around in this topic, trying to work out, well, if gravity's not doing it, what is the explanation, Riley? And I'm like, that is actually a legitimate. What is causing it to move? Why does stuff move? And then when you realize it is the medium relative to the thing, and you can manipulate the medium or the thing, you can call it, like, that's what the Cartesian diver is. So the Cartesian diver is you change the volume of the diver and you can make it accelerate up or down. That's the opposite of the egg test. The egg test was varying the medium. The Cartesian diver is varying the subject matter in the medium, and they're an equivalence. They are identical in the way that they behave. If it's not the egg, you can go with the Cartesian diver. Most people can't get their head around how that works. It's not intuitive. It's counterintuitive. Once you explain it, some people don't even understand it after explanation, and they don't even cite it. But the Cartesian diver is a perfect equivalence to the egg test. But the egg test is beautiful because you can do it in the kitchen. You don't have to try and make a Cartesian diver and get it wrong and then suffer all the humiliation of not being able to achieve something, and then you didn't do anything and all that. But in real terms, everyone can get an egg in a pot of salty water and you can cause acceleration yourself. And that's the beauty of it. It is so simple, but it is demonstrating the scientific principle that you can accelerate mass without a force, because they'll say, oh, the salt is a force then, right? Well, we're showing that isn't actually true, because you can cause acceleration just by manipulating the density of a medium or an object. And they say, but density is only a ratio. Well, isn't that a debunk for the claim that like density itself alone is a ratio, but relative density is an acceleration when there's disequilibrium? So you're showing the alternative for, if it's not gravity causing the acceleration, what is it, Riley? Well, now we know that we can vary and manipulate the density of something and cause an acceleration. So that to me is enough for me to be satisfied that we are interested in science. We're not interested in mathematics in lieu of science, and our intentions are pure. We want to know why it is that things appear to accelerate up as well as down, not just down. For me, it's a brilliant topic. I enjoy this topic. I can't stand half the people, well, 90% of the people in it.
I'm going to do a quick call to action because there is now, woohoo, 100 people watching. Excellent. Very warm welcome to all of you who've just got here. I know there will be a link hopefully put out by one of my moderators to encourage you to let this videographer, who we are currently covering, Tyler Oliveira, a link, or a comment, sorry, to say at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. He has asked or called his audience to action, which we now are when we respond to his video, to let him know answers to questions he had, which we definitely could answer. So point him in the direction of this video. Hopefully, were he to respond, he'd do the same for us and put a link to my video to encourage others to come to Nathan Oakley 1980 channel and offer us up some algorithmic love where YouTube offer us none. So hopefully that's given enough time for a few people. Numbers have dropped a little bit, presumably from people disappearing, to go and let him know it. Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, but there is basically 100 people watching, or there is now 100 people watching again. So very warm welcome, thanks for coming, and also please share the show if you haven't done so already. It's good to get the numbers up even higher than 100. That's great that we have got 100 people watching though. So please smash the share button if you've not done so already.
Shrink it down to this.
While some of these ideas seemed insane, these were some of the nicest people I had ever met. And
Who cares? Don't care about how nice people are. And their ideas are irrelevant. I can prove Earth's flat.
Almost immediately welcomed me into their community despite my skepticism. What is the biggest thing that could convince the average person to believe in a flat Earth?
Measured flat. We've gone through this.
Hang on. Think of his question. What is the biggest thing that the reasonable person could, and then he said, believe in flat Earth? You don't have to believe in it. You just got to recognize that it's not a globe. It's not about belief, is it? It's about empiricism, not belief.
Yeah, or showing a claim of a globe from him, if he was to ever make one. He's been smart enough to avoid that. How it utilizes a flat plane or requires his belief.
The gravity thing,
What do you mean?
So you want to answer a question about how to believe in a flat Earth with the whole gravity thing, which is very much a necessity for all Earth believers to hold themselves affixed to a spinning sphere in a sky vacuum. That's your proof of gravity, straight off the cuff, is it, mate? Wonderful.
that it's just it's a theory.
For flat Earth.
Sorry, it's not a theory. A theory is a scientific term that would suggest you have scientific empiricism offered up by scientific experimentation based on a hypothesis after observing a phenomena to elucidate the cause of that phenomena through the experimentation, after which you can form a theory. When you say just a theory, You're wrong on so many levels, my friend, and gravity's got nothing to do with flat Earth.
Earthers to make sense of gravity, they would need a different model to explain it if they could
see. So what he's done is taken something that is a necessity to hold you to a ball and infer that we need to explain it. There is no gravity. It's a bent fourth-dimensional pseudo-Riemannian space-time invented by Einstein bending as a result of the uneven distribution of mass in that mathematics. There is no necessity for me to explain it on a flat Earth. The description of gravity requires a flat Earth.
It's another example. Wait. It's reversing the burden of proof as well, because like even if gravity, like obviously they all believe Newtonian principles of gravitation, even if gravity was or was not a force, there's no requirement on us to replace it with anything. Now, obviously we can do. We've just spoke about how the Cartesian dive and all that. That we can, but I never ever go to it, because the minute you do, then they ignore the fact that they've not got the proof to prove gravity in the first instance, and then they focus on what it is about your claim that you can't prove, or that they don't agree with, or that you've done wrong, or that you didn't do this, or you didn't do that. And none of that then is about whether or not they can prove it in the first instance. All it does is gives them the opportunity to start stabbing in the dark. Well, don't give them the stabbing in the dark, and don't make the claim that we can explain it instead. Just say you can't prove it. It's not scientific. It's been changed from what you thought it was.
Why would you bring it up at all?
I wouldn't bring it up. I would leave it well alone. I would have that conversation with Nathan and Arwin and people on our side, but I wouldn't bring it up with the average normie, because you're reversing the burden of proof away from the main problem, which is that the gravity is not a force in the first place. You were taught it in error as a child. You've been brainwashed as a result of it. Gravity is not a force. Forget about whether or not we can demonstrate why things accelerate outside of that topic, but you can't prove it in the first place. That's the problem.
Become a fool.
He points to you as one of the biggest brains in this community. I do this. What just happened?
You're more dense in the air.
Well, why don't I go flying into the air?
Why would you?
Endlessly. Why would I not?
There's a downward electric bias that sets the direction.
Wait, what?
There's a positive electric gradient as you increase.
Sorry, I'm just vomiting in the background.
And then it goes down to equalize. It sets the up and down.
Won't that same force hold the air down to the earth? If it's
gas go down, go boom, boom.
Oh my God.
No force pulling.
Yeah, I was literally
down.
vomiting when he said about the gravitational nonsense.
Yeah, these idiots on the flat Earth think that they need to explain gravity because they still think there's a force of down.
Yeah, you don't have to explain it at all. You just got to point out that they can't prove it, and gravity is not a force in current physics. And then that's it.
But that don't help them in what they're trying to peddle.
Doesn't matter. That's how to kill that argument.
Neil's
you haven't got a force.
Neil's inferring that
Yeah,
this guy's
we
an
know
etherite.
that. You know that.
Hold on, Neil. Neil's inferring that this guy's an etherite, therefore it aids his rhetoric that he's probably bought into. We're going to just suggest he has. We don't know the guy or what he believes, but for the sake of this discussion, we're going to just suggest this guy is an etherite, and therefore it serves his ends to have a gravity that he'll rename with a incoherent dielectric accelerative bias in a downward vector. So therefore, he's going to start go ahead.
Was that not Austin Whitsitt talking? It sounded like Austin.
Probably, but this guy's a different guy.
It's a ball.
Why does it not affect the air? That's a good question, actually.
No one said anything's being pulled down. There's a downward electric gradient. So like
Nobody said anything's going down. There's a downward electric gradient. Same breath. What a double speaker.
gives you downward pressure.
There's downward pressure. No one's saying anything's going down. That was within the same breath.
The higher you go, the more positive charge there is in the air. Why? Because that's the way.
Because that manages to convince people that there's this incoherent dielectric accelerative force we can sell as a fantasy to replace the globe with. It's really profitable.
That the world works, man.
What's pulling
Just how the world works, man.
You to follow the Earth? If you're already free from gravity.
You know what a con artist is, Anthony?
Do I know what a con artist is?
Yeah. What does it mean, con, in that context?
Oh, what does the word con mean? I don't know, actually. I've never thought about it.
Confidence. Confidence. Whitsitt is a con artist. What he's actually doing when he tells you about an incoherent dielectric accelerative force with his big long words and his convoluted diatribe and summarizes that that's just how the world works, he's utilizing his confidence to trick you. None of
Well,
what he
he's
said
actually he's utilizing sophistry. He's using big words, and it sounds intelligent when he starts talking in that fast psychobabble. He's using that use of language. It's called sophistry to try and persuade you that he's intelligent.
And the Earth is going. Why are you following the Earth? What other force propels you to follow the Earth?
You out in space and you're just hanging there by yourself, and Earth is going through the galaxy at 666 miles.
All I'm hearing is flat earthers describing globe earth rhetoric badly.
If you're ready for... You came here for one reason.
What was that?
To not learn nothing.
I'm learning. What are you talking about?
Did you learn anything?
Wait, what if I didn't?
Based on what he's been given, he's had nothing to learn. So, big fella,
Exactly.
what are you going to teach
It's
him?
interesting because he said, if you play that back, he said, you come here to not learn nothing. And he says, I am learning something, but not learn nothing is technically, it's that double negative. It means it's a positive. Not learn nothing means he's learning something. And his response was, I am learning something. Like, Jesus, this is really bad use of language.
That means that you're here for an agenda. Answer my question. Listen, bro, concentrate.
Yeah, okay, sorry. He's distracted, yeah.
Just concentrate, all right? What other force is pulling you to follow the Earth?
Between the actual attractive force between the molecules.
No, but how did you measure it?
I don't have to measure it.
But neither do I have to. I don't have the time or decades to understand every field of science, right? We're relying on some level.
Understand fields of science. This is where the problem lies, because what this guy's under the misapprehension is that consensus view from people who've claimed to be scientists is something he needs to concern himself with, whereas that in reality is where he's been deceived onto a ball in the first place by people claiming to have empiricism, that's scientific validity, when they don't. Now the guy next to him wants to use the same magic trick to convince people there's something called ether. That is to say, offer scientific validity where he has none.
Level of expertise, to be honest. Do you trust someone else who did the test for you?
Absolutely.
Why would you do
World
that?
records. Because I know people that have personally done it.
Doesn't that sound like the foundation of science, believing scientists have done the same experiment?
The more questions I asked, the less the flat earth made sense.
Tyler, I believe that you are actually looking for the truth.
I am. It's hard.
Why is it every time he gets in a position to offer up evidence for a flat earth, it's questioning the opponent's integrity and quest for truth?
I know. It's not that hard.
Do you guys ever go back to being a glober?
Oh, hell no. Yeah, I don't think I can, no. Some people will...
I don't think I can. These people only believe Earth is flat. We know it's flat. There is no belief in that regard here. Go on, Anthony.
I didn't say anything.
Oh, did you not? Someone.
I said exactly, Nathan.
You just like blaming me, Nathan, when you think there's a bit of feedback. That's what it really is.
No, someone did say something. It was Neil.
Just never see it. Like, no matter what you present to them.
Some people just don't care.
Do you guys believe 9/11 was a false flag?
Oh, absolutely.
Do you believe the moon landing is fake?
Look at his shirt.
It seems like a common thing.
No, I would answer no. No, I don't believe the moon landing was fake. It was fake. You can't travel via a second law of thermodynamics violation sky vacuum to a rock in the sky, because if the rocket can travel into the area of volume you call outer space, so would gas that expands in all directions at high velocity in line with the entropic laws of nature. Now, while Dave might imply that laws of nature are about how free you are, they're not. They describe things that occur always. And in this instance, gas filling space would be something that would occur if space was real, to travel to the moon through. Ergo, the trip to the moon never happened. We'd all be dead. We'd never have any gas to breathe. So definitely not real. I can prove it. Whoever's off mute in G+, can you mute?
Among these flat earthers is that they had no trust or faith in the government or science.
Take it a little deeper.
Like, don't trust science. It doesn't require any trust. But you don't know what science is, Tyler. Science is the elucidation of the cause of an effect you are studying in nature. That's what science, when you're discussing flat Earth, is. Contextually, flat Earth is the nature of our reality. That's physics, the physical and natural world. That is exclusively the realm of the scientific method. elucidation of cause and effect. You think it's trusting consensus. That's what you think science is. And therefore, these people, that's flat earthers in your view, the people you're in front of, mistrust your view of science, which is consensus, not science, not an adherence to the scientific method. You don't know what that is, Tyler. So to charge these people with not adhering to your belief in consensus is a bit of an outrage for them and me.
Deeper than that, where I think that all these things that they push on the media are completely fabricated.
The belief in one conspiracy.
You believe that they're fabricated. Who gives a toss about these people's beliefs? Ads.
In another.
Moon landing, not because you can't land a rocket on a disc of light.
I realized flat Earth was the tip.
See, saying you can't land it on a disc of light might be a reasonable statement to the uninitiated, but to state something that's backed by natural law is far stronger. You can't travel to a light if that light is based in an idea of a second law of thermodynamics violation, sky vacuum. If the sky was a vacuum, then the gas we breathe would fill the space. It's a natural law, the second law of thermodynamics. The second law of thermodynamics debunks outer space, is far stronger a statement because it's seated in natural law than to say you can't land on a light in the sky. Everyone in the audience, if they're a heliocentric believer, would say, we did land on a light in the sky. 1969, we landed on the moon. That light in the sky, we did. Nothing you said changed that. Meanwhile, it being a violation of the second law of thermodynamics would unequivocally debunk the notion we can travel to that light in the sky. See the difference between our arguments here on Flat Earth Debate versus Flaktoberfest? This guy's on the stage. People are paid to hear him.
Tip of the iceberg with a blatant rejection of critical...
You can pay to hear me too. There's a super chat and a PayPal link.
Thinking at the bottom. These people were the select few
but seriously, I am really poor.
On the world's largest secret, while everyone else was a fool.
Yes, Anthony.
Can I just check? Was it 1969 or was it 1966 when they landed on the? They claimed that they landed on the moon.
69.
What happened in '66 other than England winning the World Cup?
Just England won
First
the World
Super
Cup.
Bowl was played.
I'm sure something symbolic happened while the World Cup was on, and I remember thinking that seems like a very important coincidence that the World Cup was on at the same time that 1966. Something else big. If it was definitely 69, fine, but there's something else that happened in 1966.
Was it Vietnam? What was the war that was currently going on?
I don't know, but I just thought I remember thinking like, hang on a minute, that was done while
Vietnam
the World Cup was on. Was it Vietnam?
Anyway, thank you.
Just checking.
So it is possible for human beings to move in 5 dimensions, but not only that, our science needs to be kicked up several notches higher.
Yeah, she's not only taken the notion of Einstein to be acceptable in the 4th dimensional reification of a pseudo geometry. There's apparently an extra dimension beyond that, based on the garbage that we get told by Ethereans. Counterspace.
What is the 5th dimension?
Counterspace.
Oh, so time and counterspace.
Length, breadth, depth, time, and counterspace.
Well, don't we need a 6th dimension, Narniaism or something like? We need a reference to Narnia and for 6th dimension, because if they're having 4 and 5 dimensions, we've got to have 1, surely.
Okay, well, fine. You know you've got 2-dimensional paper with a 2-dimensional drawing, and we exist as a 3rd dimension in physical reality, and time as a conceptual medium is the 4th dimension, and counterspace is the non-visible permeation of a medium that we all live in, and Narnia is the overarching realm that counterspace with space-time and the 3rd dimension for the 2th dimension that you can draw on a piece of paper exists in. How's that?
So what's the 6th dimension then?
Narnia.
That sounds perfect. We need to start relying on the 6th dimension to make a mockery of the 4th and the 5th dimension.
Indeed. Narnia is a real dimension, Anthony. Have you never been through the wardrobe?
And then
Because that will help everyone.
Ironically, this convention had reconverted me into a...
Go on, you've got a gag, I can hear it.
No, you're mixing up the 4 heavens.
Or
then they'll twist it into they think there's a sixth dimension called Narniaism or whatever. They'll just twist it, won't they?
Ooh, heaven is a place on earth.
Heaven is a half pipe.
A glober.
I can tell you're up to something.
Me? We're trying to learn the truth.
Yeah, I think you're real genuine. You look like if date was a person.
Check out this guy's body language with his arms crossed. Yeah, you look real genuine. This guy, at least he knows his number, right?
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Why are you so upset?
Because
you're a phony. I'm a phony?
Yeah, you are. He's got your number, mate.
Phony. Oh, okay. Okay, walk away.
Oh, I'm walking away because I.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I'm walking away because I'm intimidated.
No, you're like.
Yeah, I agree with this guy's sentiment, right? He knows what Tyler's about to do and how he's going to spin it when he says, okay, buddy, walk away. Right? The guy's just come back and gone, no, I'm just walking off to the loo, or whatever he said. So that he can't spin this. This guy, this tall guy, has obviously got his head screwed on and knows, yeah, I know I'm dealing with a wanker. Okay, mate?
That Paul?
Who?
Is it Paul? Paul on a plane?
I could be. If it is, then that's why, because Paul's very bright.
Yeah. 2 feet taller, you knocked me out.
Yes, it is.
Is it? I thought he looked like, is this the voice as well? Yeah. Well, that's why then. He's not having none of that nonsense.
Yeah, Paul's too smart for this shit.
Beat you in a rap battle.
I believe you. Interesting.
That's a shame, though. Paul's one of the few people that could have put a few arguments to him that would have put him in his place. He just didn't want to, and I don't blame him.
I got a question. Okay, so I just want to say great presentation, by the way. And secondly, I came here initially as a flat earther, but after talking to all of you, more particularly the ginger, who said I looked like if date was a person, want to give him a shout out. I've come to conclude that the earth is a sphere, and I will give anyone $1,000 right now outside if you can prove me wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, I could have done that. I could have had that grand.
Oh. Is it Whitsitt that's turned this guy back to the ball then?
All of the people telling him about globe earth
ginger.
rhetoric and gravity were the people that converted him back to a ball. Based on what he's edited together, I realise it's edited. But all he's done is shown all the people from the flat earth that have given him information about a globe, including Dave Weiss.
Who's the ginger though?
Who cares? And we could also poke fun at him, though. You're right.
That's a definitive statement that the person that's converted him back to the ball is Whitsitt, which is what we're complaining about. That he's gone there. I mean, admittedly, maybe disingenuously, claiming he's a flat earther. But the thing that's got him back on the ball is having a good conversation about flat earth with Dave Weiss and Whitsitt. Have I misheard that, or
you want to play it again?
Yeah, I just want to hear that last bit.
Okay,
He's
so
thanking the
I just want to
ginger
say
kid.
great presentation, by the way. And secondly, I came here initially as a flat earther, but after talking to all of you, more particularly the ginger, who said I looked like if date was a person, want to give him a shout out. I've come to conclude that the earth is a sphere, and I will give anyone $1,000 right now outside if you can prove me wrong. Yeah. $1,000.
The ginger's Whitsitt.
Why are they kicking him out?
Because I think he's just stood up and been a bit rude in someone's presentation.
No. Mark Sargent handed him the mic.
Ah. I'll take his money. I'll be outside. Wouldn't you be? Nathan, 500 each. Let's
my
kick him
immediate
outside.
reaction.
Let's go get the money.
Yeah, that's what I said immediately. I'd be outside getting that grand off him.
Usually,
you measure
the
a
best
flat.
stuff not-
Here's how anything you say to me about a globe will require a flat Earth. As with respect to radial values that require elevation angle measurements to Polaris, their minimum being the equator. That requires a flat Earth, and all maps, measurements, derivations of a globe will require that as your basis. Earth is measured flat. Give me my grand.
Yeah, $1,000. I'll walk home on the flat earth. Trolling. I'm not trolling.
What are you doing here? What the hell are you doing here?
There's a You're not trolling if you take into consideration that his edit is as he's presented it. All he's been offered is globe Earth information about gravity and orbits. That's what I heard.
Can I say something?
No.
The problem is they didn't give them any evidence, but they think they did. They really seriously think that they've given this guy enough evidence to prove that Earth is flat. They're in delusional world.
The people following the people who are punting the Ethereum nonsense that's profitable, they are deluded. The people who are punting the Ethereum nonsense don't care because it's still profitable to have all those other numpties still follow them.
Mountain of evidence.
Yeah, let's hear
If
it.
you don't see it, you're blind. Not everybody's got the
You hear that? There you go. Exemplifies my point perfectly.
Yep.
Let's hear it.
mental capacity to really see it.
So
what he's being told is he doesn't have the capacity to see it. What's it?
Yeah. He's applying the Emperor's New Clothes fallacy right now. He's saying if you're not seeing it, you must be stupid.
Yep.
Hold on. You were a flat earther, but now you're not? That doesn't make any sense.
Absolutely does.
You can't prove a closed mind.
Right.
See, that's all this is about. Glorified personal attack on the person that doesn't believe as they believe. These people believe the earth is flat, and in an outrageous show of zealotry akin to what they've just been subject to, they're prepared to project that straight onto this guy. You haven't shown him Earth's flat. You haven't proven Earth's flat. Why would he accept Earth's flat if he's a rational person? Given that he's been offered a mountain of globe Earth evidence, with you proposing that you can overcome it in a ham-handed way, what he's heard is globe evidence. Because he's not been presented measurements of a flat Earth. He's not been presented proof of a flat Earth. And that's all he's there for. It's called Flattoberfest. All he's hearing about is the globe. Why wouldn't he?
I was going to let you pass, but that was kind of a crazy move you did in there to get some good footage in your video. Are you going to end with where they can find more information, or are you going to leave that? All right, tell me yours. If you want more information, go to flatearthdave.com. Don't believe.
See, that's all that matters to Dave. The fact that every one of the people who follow in his footsteps that have talked to this guy have been made to look a fool is irrelevant to Dave so long as he gets a plug for his app. That's all he cares about.
Nathan, if they asked you to show, if you were there and the guy said, show me measurements, how would you break it down to him? There's a reason why I'm asking you.
You could talk about the longitude, latitude grid, elevation angle measurements to Polaris, how you navigate. You could talk about celestial navigation in terms of finding your fix, finding your position on Earth, generally mapping and navigating Earth, how you build things, all of which require reference to a horizontal plane. Or I'd encourage him to offer up any globe proof he chooses, and I will show him how that globe proof will require a flat plane. For example, he suggested to Dave in yesterday's coverage of this video, same video, that ellipses, that was the only thing he offered back to Dave. It was one word in a response that offered up a suggestion of a globe claim, which would be to infer that there is an elliptical motion of the stars. That requires angle measurements to infer orbital motion. Those angle measurements will come with respect to an actual measurement off a flat plane. So I take one of his words that he'd used in his discussion with Dave and point out how his globe proof needs a flat plane. Just to round this out, I'll quote John Refracted Curvature. Quote, you guys need a flat plane more than we do. End quote, Refracted Curvature. In other words, I'd either use his own bloody globe claim to be proof as a flat Earth proof and really shove it in his face, or just show how Earth is measured flat, navigated flat, built on flat, referenced as flat, flown on flat. I can show all of those things to him.
Can you do it with radio waves?
I wouldn't, but you might.
That's what Whitsitt said last night on Debatism when somebody asked him, well, how would you measure Earth to be flat? He said radio waves.
I'll do it.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, I wouldn't. Whitsitt would, as opposed to you would then.
I don't think I wouldn't do it if you bothered to explain radio wave. You mentioned radar yesterday, didn't we? So it's a long explanation.
Yeah, I was going to say we could launch into it, but I do want to get to the end of this video. You will need a flat Earth for that also, Neil, but it depends whether or not Whitsitt qualified with it to the extent that it would prove it. And based on what Adam's just said, I could probably work my way around it now that he's pointed out that radar would essentially work on the same principle. Yeah, it'd take me a couple of minutes, but I could point out he proved a flat Earth with it if you chose to do so. I doubt it is he's declaring that Earth isn't a globe, is a globe based on what he's already been told, as I get interrupted and rumpus by Neil in the middle of my sentence.
Sorry, I'm just saying he chose that so he could just not use any of the things that we use here. It's really sad.
Yeah, I mean, what do you want me to do? I've approached all of these people. Dave is one of them. I used to consider him a mate. But, you know, when it got to me explaining the scientific method for him personally, he shut me down rather than take the lesson. And now I know why, because Whitsit, at the time, Bob while he was alive, Jaren, all of these clowns are conning people with a science they don't actually have any credence for. They don't have any legitimacy in their claim to be science with Michelson-Morley and gyros. They're calling that science just like the Globers called non-adherence to the scientific method science when they said Earth's a sphere. In other words, their pseudoscience claims on the Ethereum flat Earth side of this discussion are just as invalid as the globe Earth pseudoscience claims that this videographer wants to appeal to when he says the flat earthers don't believe consensus, what he called science, in name only, because it isn't, it's pseudoscience. Nothing's been through the method for a globe, it can't.
Anything that you heard in this video from him or from me or from anybody else, go verify it yourself.
Also, whoever has the most viewed TikTok or YouTube short using a clip from this video, I'll send you $500. Post however many times you want, but you must tag my TikTok /
Say again.
You said something very poignant there, Nathan, and it struck me like a supernova.
Did it hit you like a cannonball?
Again?
Did it hit you like a cannonball?
Yeah, better. Supernova. Maybe it was a little bit over the top. You said that Dave is into it for a con, right? That's pretty obvious to everyone now. Now I'm seeing it a little bit. Sorry, I've been emotionally unavailable for a while. They're using the Hillary Clinton Academy of charging others first with what you do. So what they're doing, Jaren, Dave, and Shits at 20, what they did, Jaren started it out by shifting the burden over, or it's like a diversion. It's a little diversionary tactic about putting content. You see where I'm going with
that? No,
this?
because you haven't gone there. Go there.
Yeah, I'm there. He's making you and us look like the con men because we're cons, right? We're a scam. Meanwhile, they're the con men. You see where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
Way to catch up.
If you can point out that the people who can expose their fraud of pseudoscience is us. So in advance, preemptively, before we expose their use of pseudoscience, the best thing you can do is decry your opponent as a scammer if you're going to be perpetuating a scam.
Yes. It's a preemptive strike.
Yeah.
Hillary Clinton would be proud of this.
Right, well, here is last call to action. And
then we'll move on to something more important.
YouTube at and put YouTube Tyler Oliveira in the title / description.
This simple yet brilliant
YouTube Tyler Oliveira in the description. I can manage that. No bother you about seeking son of a gun. I gotta be honest, right? As much as I want to hate this guy, not really, but for dramatic effect, I want to hate him. He did a good job, and he's got every defense for doing what he did. What say you?
I think he's not been presented anything that I would consider reasonable to shift his paradigm. He's gone there, obviously, being honest, he's a little closed-minded, but it was up for the flat earthers to change his mind, to give him evidence that he was incorrect. They didn't. They described the ball to him.
Yep. Like I say, I don't think he's unjustified.
I I can't be critical of him going, oh, mate, why can't you, like they were saying, why can't you see it? Because he's not been shown it. He's just been told it's flat, right? You're wrong, it's flat. That's all he's been told. He's not been persuaded.
Hold on, though, Adam, hold on.
Way.
But did he do the open-minded research that nobody offered him?
No, it's not for him to have to do that. He's turning up to a flat Earth conference to be convinced. Doesn't need. All he should need to do is buy a ticket and come out the other side with a considered opinion. That's the conference should have been building that for him, surely.
Yeah. It should have been done on the spot. The moment he offered up £1,000, it was for somebody in the audience to stand up there and then go, you don't need to go outside. Earth's measured flat. All claims of globes, orbital mechanics, and all mapping is derived from measurements taken from a flat Earth. They're called elevation angles. They're with respect to the star and described on a plane. The celestial sphere is wrapped around the equatorial plane. The equatorial plane is a measurement derived from that same plane with the stars and their minimum elevation angles. Earth is measured flat. I'll have you grand. Earth is flat.
So if I was to do that and go, well, it's flat because the horizon's not really a thing. It's to do with the Rayleigh criterion. Can I have £1,000 now?
That's crap. That's it's flat.
Well, that's what was given to convince him.
But you're telling me that you can describe sufficiently what causes the horizon?
No, I didn't mention the horizon. Just went on about things disappearing in the distance and Rayleigh criterion. I very really.
So based on you being able to qualify #shit shrinks, do you think I should give you £1,000 because you proved Earth's flat? Nah, I wouldn't give you £1,000 for that if I was him.
I didn't go as far as proving shit shrinks, even did I? I just described the Rayleigh criterion and expected you to fill in all the blanks to make it make sense.
I suppose if you've been on that journey and drip fed little bits of information seeming to prove a flat Earth, then all the people, like the ones in the audience, would believe that was enough confidence tricksters convincing them of flat Earth so that they can use the same confidence trick with something that isn't true. So it can be easily shouted down by someone like this without them even opening their mouth. Let the opponent do it all for you.
Oh, are we done with the candy wrappers here?
Yeah.
Hopefully.
You want to get to some steak?
I do want to do a shout out for Ballbusters on Saturday as we're still live.
Say again?
Got Ballbusters. Be here or be Sphere on the Quantum Eraser YouTube channel. 8 p.m. UK, 3 p.m. Central.
What? 2 p.m. US Central, 8 p.m. UK, and that's not what I'm talking about.
Be here or be Sphere tomorrow.
Yeah, that's not the meat I'm talking about. You're doing candy wrappers right now. I want to get to some meat. You gonna stay here for a little while?
Yeah, you feel free. We're still live. Go ahead.
Go to Master B. There's a timestamp video. Anthony's gonna love this too because one of his buddies is on here.
I watched a bit of that last night, and I had to comment. It was frustrating, and then Whitsitt almost got the physicist to a point.
Because that kind of was going to be my next question.
Darren interrupted. Just blanked him and ruined the whole point he was about to win.
I guess what I can do is I can pull you into gravity land. So, because we kind of talked about, I mean, that refutes the globe geometrically. I get that you want to keep investigating it, and that's cool. And I think we're going to try to do some more tests. And hopefully maybe you'd even want to be a part of it. And maybe some people that have, expertise in that field or something. Anyway. That refutes the globe, as do microwaves. So the next question, the glaring question, because we kind of talked about motion, geocentric, interferometry, debunking the rotation. We've talked about the geometry refutation of radio waves, microwaves, amongst many other things. But the next one, the big claim, right, is that we're in a giant vacuum, this majestic vacuum of stars and all this stuff. And so, and I know you've heard it. I know you've heard the question, but how do we have a pressurized system within a vacuum of 10 to the negative 17 torr, applying the second law of thermodynamics, which is, of course, that natural and spontaneous systems will always have entropy increasing and it will never decrease. How can that be possible in the face of a natural law?
That wasn't bad. What's wrong with that?
Nothing.
In the
Come on.
natural law,
It gets worse.
Why is that there?
that needs.
What?
You thought it was good? I mean, he was just like scattergunning it. He was just talking so quickly I could barely.
Okay, I'll take your criticism, Marwin. You're saying he could have been a bit more concise. I'll give you that. But he was all right.
I thought that
He's taking the wrong angle.
and straight out of QE's website.
That's all right. No, doesn't have to offer credit, but yes, it is a QE argument. So what? There shouldn't be any objection. QE didn't object. Why are you all objecting? What's wrong?
I'm not. I'm agreeing. I think that was very concise.
Continue to play the video.
As we stated, is that it's in the absence of any outside forces. So, and in this case, it's not in the absence of a.
Stop it. The second law of thermodynamics isn't conditional, PhD idiot Parks, that I took to the woodshed for over 15 hours on my own show. Did you hear what he said? He said the second law of thermodynamics is conditional.
Conditional on what?
Conditional on outside forces.
Conditional on not being applied to atmospheres in a heliocentric model.
Yeah,
That's what it's
conditional. Exactly, Adam. Conditional because my model can't comport to it.
Right, it doesn't apply to the Earth.
Yeah, exactly, Arwin. You've summed it up right. Rumpus, when he said the second law of thermodynamics does not apply to the Earth, end quote. What he means is my model of an Earth with a sky vacuum would have gas filling it. Therefore, the second law of thermodynamics doesn't apply to my model of the Earth. It's a law of nature.
Or in other words, it's conditional on outside forces.
It's conditional on globe belief.
At the Earth or somewhere else.
No, it's conditional on globe belief.
Yeah, but this is hello everyone. This is the problem with this is, for how many years have we gone down the road of asking them, how do you have gas pressure without a container? And all they want to do is go straight to, well, you see, gravity, a force of gravity does this, that, and gives weight to the air and causes a gradient and blah, blah, blah. So that's why I wouldn't even go down that road. The first place I go would be, does air have weight? And take away the very thing they need. And then after that, I'll come at them with, gas pressure without a container. Because they have nothing at that point. I don't even have to do that afterwards. Take away their air having weight. Take away that rubbish. And that's the end of it. I don't even need to ask them after that.
Yeah, but agreed. Let's continue.
For a pressure, as it were, as I like to refer to it as, which is, of course, gravity. So that is how. And the thing is, you say that the vacuum is at 10 to the negative 7 torr. Where? Where exactly is it at?
10 to the minus 17.
Okay, so gas go down, go boom, boom, man. So that's what he just said. Yeah, the gas is kept there because of gravity. So gas go down, go boom, boom. That's his actual rebuttal.
Yeah, Brian's dealt with it. Absolutely correct.
Yeah, that's what I was. Sorry, yeah, that's what I was about to say. So at that point, Brian, is the time for you to slap him down because he's just smoked weight.
Yeah, it's just that normally, Adam, they get to that point after you've asked them about gas pressure needing a container, after you've gone down that road. Whereas I'd rather go to the gas pressure. I won't even have to go to gas pressure, needing a container, because they'll be too busy going around in a circle trying to chase their tail, trying to figure out how air doesn't have weight. You know what I mean? They won't know what to do after that. You know what I mean? They'll be trying to latch on to buoyancy. Yeah.
If you put it in when you said it first, you're raising the point. He's now just made the point for your destruction to wipe him apart. He might have tried to wiggle out of your moment, but he made the claim. Yeah, that gas goes down, boom, boom, it has weight to affect the bike. But as soon as he's done that, that's when you open up and destroy him. Once he's confirmed his position, not give him the position first. That's what we've been critical of.
Who cares? Just go play.
Well, I care.
No, let me just clear that up. We will play in about 10 seconds. It happened to be a discussion point over the last couple of days, QE, which is why he's put a finer point on it. That's the only reason. We will play on, though.
That's 10 to the negative 7 torr.
17 torr. And that's out past the moon in your model. You know.
So with that one sentence, you've managed to get Witsit to start detailing their rhetoric without contextualizing it as being bullshit. Now Witsit's selling the globe and the sky vacuum that definitely exists.
I think where the ISS is, which is 255 miles.
Where the ISS is
like 10 to the -7.
Really? So you believe that where the ISS is, there's a sky vacuum? Man, you couldn't do any more damage with that single sentence.
Roughly, according to you guys.
At least he dropped that in at the end.
It doesn't really matter. Just that's kind of like the maximum.
Wow. You said in your model.
Yeah.
So I can't fault him for that.
No, I'll take it back.
The point is that at some point that gas is going to violently fill the available space, seeking equilibrium, and it's
not violate.
Not really going to care about any models that anyone comes up with. I do agree, of course, your model's claim is gravity, right? Okay, and so now what we're going to have to figure out is how
you get around this, given that you also have a gravity, because
great point. You just made a great point. The gas is going to behave how gas does, irrespective of your model. And that's a fantastic point, but he's not noticed himself how that's what he's got to address. Dear PhD professor, why does gas not behave as gas in your model?
Yep. But instead, he's got a conflict of interest because he's got a gravity that he needs to now weasel in. So that's what he's about to do, I estimate.
One, is that even a thing, right? Because you're making a claim in the face of the second law, right? And you can't replicate this. You can't show me gas pressure locally on the Earth remaining.
So are you. You've got a downward bias with an incoherent dielectric acceleration, Witsit.
That's exactly what I was going to just say. You just bet me to it. So are you, Witsit. You're making the same claim, just a different name on it.
Yep.
In a container that's open, inside of a vacuum because of gravity or anything like that. So now we need to talk.
Well, we'll trim that out then, Witsit. Or anything like that. So definitely not incoherent dielectric acceleration in a downward vector then. Given that gas doesn't go down, go boom, boom.
About what, do you agree that gravity as it is coined.
Notice he's now seeking agreement on something to do with gravity. Conflict of interest.
Has effectively been falsified. What people call gravity cannot be true. And it's
what people call gravity, not just the idea that gas go down, go boom, boom. I know you've got that too, haven't you?
Current state.
Well,
and
just
really that there's no
evidence now. We're now in nonsense land.
Yep.
What are they calling gravity? What is the definition? There's no substance to address for the PhD.
Perfect for Witsit. He needs it nice and vague.
How can you falsify something that hasn't been or have a modicum of valid? You know what I mean? It hasn't been validated. So
you can't. You need a step one in the methodology. He will be leaning on his scientific credentials or credibility with the experiments, in quotes, that he's going to use. But he can't. He's got to start by having a natural phenomenon to observe, and they don't have one.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is you have to have a modicum of validity first for something to even attempt to falsify it. So he's already given him that modicum of being valid. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, he's lending the semi-credence to gravity in the way he's approached this. And he needs to, because he's got something that he will also argue with. So he's got to toe the line of not stepping on his own toes as he decries gravity. In name only, what you call gravity, he said.
Yeah. They've got to reach a point of agreement here because both of them invoke a downward force. Different origins, but both. So Witsit's now treading, instead of destroying this, he's treading it over it carefully to try and pick up a point of agreement, in my opinion.
We'll see.
Evidence for it. It's not like scientifically validated.
So just to go back, Blue Marble Science has shown that in an open container, a gas can...
What? The PhD guys citing Billy Blue Balls?
Yes.
Get out of here.
No, not just citing him. He started by saying, in an open container. So when you're asked about how you can have gas pressure without a container, you're going to lean on Billy Blue Ball's example of gas pressure in a container. I see.
Exist.
PhD professor leaning on Hillbilly Billy Balls in demonstrating gas pressure without a container by using 2 sets of containers.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, we are going to do our own call to action, though. It's only reasonable to Jaren, as he's put the effort in to make this video, and we would like to share the love algorithmically with him for doing so. So please let Jaren know, or Jarenism as the channel is called, know, at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, as is the case with Josh, or whatever his name was, last videographer, and Jaren, in the vague hope that we would get the same response, and a link to our video where we were responded to. We would like you to encourage Jaren to do so by offering him some algorithmic love. Leave him a comment, let him know, at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. And yeah, just let him know we responded to this particular video. And he can hopefully find his way to the timestamp, although we are late in this live stream now, a couple of hours in. Nevertheless, please do so. I'll keep calling to action you folk in the audience. Why what?
Why give that piece of garbage anything? He's destroying flat Earth. They are literal poison, this crew.
From one YouTuber to another. So is the guy we covered before, but you raised no objection then.
Oh, I did. You just couldn't hear me because I had no freaking internet. I was losing my mind.
Alrighty then.
Yeah, a heavy or a gas at a higher pressure can exist open to a system that is of a lesser pressure.
That's a violation of the second law of thermodynamics.
So the second law doesn't state, as it's been formulated by y'all.
Why are you going to tell us what it doesn't state? It's a description of what does occur always, but you're going to lead with what it doesn't state. It doesn't state that monkeys are going to screw unicorns. Who cares what it doesn't state? It does state entropic increase.
He said the second law as we formulated it.
Yeah.
Y'all
conjured the second law of thermodynamics.
Is that QE's second law now?
But it doesn't apply to the Earth.
It's about to tell us how it doesn't. You listen.
It will equilibrize based on a vacuum. The equilibrium occurs when the pressures are different. Blue Marble Science on his channel is...
Sorry, what? Sorry, let me just restate it. The equilibrium occurs when the pressures are different. Is this guy really a PhD?
I think that's his way of saying gradient.
Isn't that a contradiction?
No, listen again, Arwin. The equilibrium, you know what that means? Occurs when the pressures are different. Should we hear it again?
It will equilibrize based on a vacuum. The equilibrium occurs when the pressures are different.
Sorry, but this guy is an absolute idiot. Who is this guy? Rob Parks.
He's a PhD astronomer.
Okay.
Right. He doesn't realize the Earth is a dynamic system and it's not in equilibrium. It never really is.
Okay.
But it's always seeking it.
Yeah, of course.
It's always seeking it. So as soon as you've got two pressure systems, there will be disequilibrium until equilibrium is reached. And entropy will try to reach that. What they won't do is sit there happily next to each other, having their own pressures. They can't because of the way they behave.
And their behaviour would be described by this law that he's saying it doesn't.
Well, QE's law now. The way we've now defined. Yeah, this is shameful from a PhD. A, his lack of knowledge, and B, the intellectual dishonesty he's now employing to try and poison the well against the second law by claiming we've rewrote it.
Blue Marble Science on his channel.
He's denying weather and convection currents and everything connected to weather. Absolutely everything connected to weather. But he's also stating that two different pressures will equalize. After saying that a low pressure and a high pressure can exist together without. It's crazy. This is just because someone's a PhD, they reckon they just make stuff up. That's what it seems to be.
Shown that no, that you can actually have that, and again, it's based on his.
Sorry, did I miss something? Where was that shown? Oh, by Blue Billy Bullballs with his gas pressure in a container? No, he showed that containers required.
Not Blue Belly Blue Balls, Hillbilly Blue Balls, the redneck retard.
Yeah, indeed. But he didn't show gas pressure without a container. He's now leaning on that as somehow being evidence.
Gravity. That's the reason why the butane stays in the open pipe as opposed to spilling out into the air.
It does.
That's not the reason.
Sorry, no, sorry, I just need to correct him. It did and would, and it's a law of nature. The gas will fill the space. You won't come back to that pipe a year later and find it's full of butane. Entropy. It's a law of nature. Does he think that gas, in this case butane, will prevail in an open container indefinitely? He's just denying that's a second law of thermodynamics violation. The guy's a moron.
That's what he just did. He just did say that. He just made a statement that in Hillbilly Blue Balls' demonstration that the gas pressure stayed, in defiance of the second law. That's what he's citing Hillbilly Blue Balls for. As proof that the second law is false.
Wrong.
Yeah, completely wrong. Can I give a little bit of background just for the audience? The butane that was put into the pipe, butane is a more dense gas than air, and more dense gases than air will diffuse slower, and less dense gases than air will diffuse faster. So that would have taken time to diffuse into the air, and it also was in a pipe, and the pressure was being created by him underneath as he was pumping it in. So he's pumping in a more dense gas that was displacing the air that was already in there, while he's standing in air pressure. So he technically used the butane canister, which is the first container, the pipe, which is the second container, and toward the container he's standing in, which is the container over the earth. There's 3 containers he used, and all he showed was all he was actually showing was the diffusion rate of a more dense gas than air. That's what he was showing into the air.
Doesn't remain in there forever, does it? And of course, that's a container.
He showed that however you constrain stuff, high pressure will always go to low. Might take time, but entropy always rules.
What's another name for entropy?
Natural law, laws of thermodynamics.
The arrow of time.
Container, a pipe is a container.
He's just showing entropy and then claiming he's debunking it. It's absolutely absurd.
It stayed in there. I think he did the experiment for a day.
Sorry, it stayed in there. No, it did not.
And it's not an experiment.
But it's just time limited it. It just said, I think it stayed in there for a day. Right, so the entropy took place then.
So it diffused into the area of volume between the gaps in the existing gas pressure that would have to have been contained for this to have taken a bit longer. So there was a container needed to form the gas pressure at atmospheric levels, as you described them, and there was a container needed to transport the gas through that gas pressure to the quasi-experiment, and there was a container that it was put into, that it eventually leaked out of, through entropy. But you think this proves that gas can exist without containment, in defiance of natural law? It's so absurd, it's untrue.
Yeah, it's also another problem that the diameter of the pipe was so small that a fusion couldn't take place efficiently. So let's make the diameter of that pipe 3 feet. Let's see how long the butane lasts in there.
Oh, it's so stupid.
Small diameter.
Yeah, it's like having a slow puncture. Oh, well, and that defies entropy. Look, I've kept it in the tyre for a week. Yeah, but every time a gas particle hit the hole, it bounced through the hole and out into the available volume, because it could. And eventually all of it did that, because the probability of eventually, over time, the arrow of time, entropy's description, all of them will eventually hit the hole. That's all he did. Showed a slow puncture.
To him about it, he admitted that it ends up leaving the container, and so
yeah, exactly, Witsit.
Yeah, and then,
yes. So there's a law of nature that describes it's called entropy. Gas fills space. Therefore, space is fake. Why are you yelling it at him, Witsit?
you're going to get into
in line. And
why has he got the mic? So space is fake. Gas fills space. Your example showed entropic increase. So gas fills space then. So we're not in any way moving past this fact, this law of nature. And in fact, your cited example to overcome it with gas not filling a sky vacuum was an example of gas filling an already existing gas pressure. Slowly. Wow. That achieved nothing.
into density there, right? You're going to get into density. What is density? Density is intrinsic.
No, we're going to get into how that was an entropic increase, proving your point, Witsit. Do you not know when you've won?
The electrostatic, molecular, intermolecular.
Oh, my bad. It wasn't that you could take the win. It's your opportunity to punt your scam with your confidence trickster methodology by talking about incoherent dielectric accelerative downward biases. Isn't it, Witsit? It's not just that you've debunked space. It's an opportunity to con people.
Yeah. You had a really good opportunity there to demonstrate that the PhD was talking out of his arse. You had him. You actually had him, and you could have forced a retraction there. And instead, it was abandoned to what? Pump your own rhetoric, which is about as valid as the stuff you could have destroyed.
If he's going to segue back into he's going to segue. I guarantee he'll segue back into gravity of his own description next.
Yeah, it's just really sad. You had live him by the balls. He just lied. He just cited hillbilly blue balls. A PhD has cited that as and called it an experiment. Just don't get off that ship until he absolutely abandons it himself. Yeah, just keep banging on and on and on. Sorry, you, a PhD, have just cited hillbilly blue balls. Can we put that on, Jaren? Can we put this experiment on? Yeah, and then let's take him through the experiment. What's your independent variable, mate? Absolutely nail him to the cross he's just put up for you.
Forces. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then there's a downward, like what you call weight. You can try to say that gas has weight.
Called it. Not just a segue, an outright claim being made that sits directly contrasting gravity with the same bullshit. What an outrage. Now, if you're a member of my audience and you cannot see the con, then you're blind.
Weight or whatever, but that isn't a container.
Weight or whatever, like gas go down, go boom, boom. No, it don't. And that's why he segued away. That's
Can
why.
I just point out, you can't appeal to them not being able to see it, otherwise they're blind, because that is the Emperor's New Clothes of fallacy.
Yep, exactly.
People may not see it.
That's
People
only
may not see it.
no, that's only true for the followers of Witsit, not true for Witsit.
No, because he's I know, but you said your words just then were, if you can't see the con, you are blind. That you can't word it like that, because not everybody will see it. In other words, you can't apply the Emperor's New Clothes.
No, he's applying it to his audience, our audience, yeah?
Yeah, no, I don't think you should do that. I think that you should point it out more explicitly. And if they can't see it, the blind makes them... It's dodgy because they can feel as though you're being deceptive if they can't see it.
Okay, I understand. Well, you outline it then.
I can't, but I didn't make the sentence, so I don't want to try.
I'll outline it then. You heard my outrage, because this is supposed to be a debate of flat Earth versus ball Earth. And the flat Earthers just got the baller to demonstrate how he's lying, doesn't understand science, doesn't understand natural law, and wants to deny natural law in its application to the Earth. And instead of doing that, that option has been ignored in favor of giving his audience his rhetoric on a downward acceleration caused by electropotential differences. That's what he's there for. He's not there to destroy the ball. He's there, look, to pimp his grift.
Yep. That's the con. If you can't see that in light of him winning, He had every element to nail this guy to the cross, as it was just described, and instead he punted the con of ether.
Yeah.
Not annihilated space, not left no doubt in the mind of the audience that space is fake based on the win that this guy's given him with a demonstration of gas filling space in Hillbilly Blue Ball's example of entropic increase. He didn't take the win, he punted the con. If you can't see that, you're blind. Now I've qualified it along with the statement, Anthony.
That's better, because I think those that couldn't see it would think that you were being deceptive if they genuinely couldn't see it. Because
We just went through it. But we just went through it 20 seconds earlier. But fine, yes, I've requalified it, and Adam has too. It's been done 3 times.
Perfect.
Thank you. Can I add something?
Yeah.
With it said, you know, with your gravity, like given, like you're saying that weight is weight or whatever. But with it is claiming a downward bias of all things, including gases. Right, if he's claiming a downward bias, he's claiming a downward bias of gases because he's claiming all electrostatics. And that downward bias would be measured as weight. It's still weight. So you can't have a
well, let me
bias and
lead
not have
you.
weight.
Let me lead you, Brian. In other words, what you're suggesting here is the application of your argument with respect to the removal of gas from a vacuum chamber and demonstrating the weight of the object therein would apply here no different to it would to a baller. Absolutely correct. This mirrors or parallels the globe Earth argument. Hence, we describe it as coming from the feast of nonsense, because it just leaves you, the audience, with a false dichotomy. Globe Earth gravity versus flat Earth gravity. Both bullshit, both downward biases, both defied by gas behaviour. When he gets the win, Whitsitt gets the win with gas behaviour, it violates natural law. Here's your example doing it. No, he can't take that route. It violates his con. So he segues onto his own rhetoric. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, because he's saying, you're saying weight is air is weight or whatever, but that is what you're saying too, Whitsitt. Because you're claiming, Whitsitt is claiming electrostatics. Now, there was covalent and ionic bonds in gas molecules and gases. The only ones that doesn't have bonds are the noble gases, right? But all the rest of them have bonds, either ionic or covalent. And that means that he's claiming, this is ridiculous, he's actually claiming that the noble gases don't have weight, but the rest of them do have weight because they have electrostatics. Without saying the word weight, they'll have a downward bias. So that's what he's saying is that H2, let's say water vapor, for instance, water vapor has a downward bias, but helium and neon don't, because they are noble gases. Without even knowing it, that's what he's actually saying.
Water vapor does not have a downward bias.
Sorry?
Water vapor does not have a downward bias.
No,
Water
we
vapor
know.
goes up.
Yeah, we know that, Anthony.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, come on, man. Give us a break.
Container and the gas ends up leaving, right? And so you guys are claiming that there's perpetually a pressurized system adjacent to a near perfect vacuum. And you would agree that the necessary antecedent to gas pressure is containment, and that you're claiming that gravity acts as that containment?
I suppose if you...
Yep, he's clarifying the globe claim rather than annihilating it. That's right, Arwin.
You treacherous traitors, Whitsitt.
Yeah. It's nuts, isn't it? That's what... I'm slightly lost for words. Shout out to Phoenix Rising 86 for joining as a member. Thank you very much indeed.
He might just be setting them up for a fall, though. He might be getting into, say, gravity is a downward force, and then he's going to flip in the gravity is not a force phrase. Let's see where he goes with it.
If you put it that way, sure. I do not believe that gas pressure requires a container.
Any example other than begging the question?
The way that gas pressure is defined is the amount of momentum that is conveyed onto a theoretical surface that the particle hits. So
a container.
That's not. Wow. I'd love to see that definition. Where's that?
So you're nailing there. You've just had a go at us for apparently restructuring the second law of thermodynamics. You're now redetermining what gas pressure is. Apparently, gas pressure is now the imaginary pressure created on an imaginary surface. No, mate. That is your desperation, once again, isn't it, to have gas pressure working everywhere but different on the Earth as a globe. It's just another Weasley way and recognition that gas behavior does not work in his model.
Right. If you say a particle hits a theoretical surface, that's like saying the particle hits the idea that you can think of as a surface, even though it isn't. And that's supposed to work.
The surface of what? The surface of the
container.
Containment.
No, but in his mind, it's just the idea of a surface. It isn't actually.
Yeah, but that's a violation of the second law of thermodynamics.
Yeah.
PV equals nRT.
What's V?
That's a parts, yeah.
What's V?
What? Yeah. Volume of the containment.
Yeah. With that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you first and foremost to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's live show possible. If you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, however, stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Of course, a massive thank you to all of you for tuning in, smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and joining as a member, and all that good stuff. Please let, what's the first videographer name? Tyler Oliveira and Scientism know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!